Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 113 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by, what do you call a Destiny player who's not a new light? What do you call that? Because I want to call you that. We're going to get into our Destiny 2 bag this episode, just to spoil a little something I started this week. So I was going to introduce you as the old light, but I don't think that makes any sense.
No, we're just veterans. We're just veterans.
The vet, okay. The vet, Lord Cognito. How are you, sir? Fresh off that Houston trip. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. A lot of stuff going on. I know we'll get into it with the games and stuff, but salute to everybody that pulled up. You were definitely missed. I got a lot of love sent your way. You know what I'm saying? So it was good. Shout out to my Houston peeps. We'll get into it. But yeah, feeling good. A lot of games, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
This might be a full action-packed show. So we're going to get into it. How you been?
I've been well. All things accounted for, I've been well.
Right.
You know, I'm sad I missed the show. It looked like everyone had a lot of fun, and I got a lot of nice messages too when people were traveling. They were like, "Hey, we're on the road. We were just thinking of you," and that was really nice. That was not expected at all. So I'm looking forward to watching the show along with all the other scallywags for free. So I can't wait to see what you guys did. I don't know anyone's pick really, so I'm very.
There's gonna be one you need to pay very high attention to.
I get a feeling it's Dustin's, because when I said I couldn't go, Dustin was like, "Oh, Matt, darn, I wish you could see my pick." And if he picked KOTOR, bro, I swear to God, Dustin's not my friend anymore. That's it, man. It's over.
Look, there are two people on the LSM family when they made their picks. I was like, wow, how is this gonna go with certain reactions? Yeah. Some people, it got spicy. It was fun though, man. It was fun. I really enjoyed it.
I think I remember your pick though, which I won't spoil for anyone, but I think I remember your pick. I'll be telling my pick later in the show because we got a couple write-ins about it. A lot of folks wanted to know what I was going to pick, so we'll answer that. But welcome, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in to your weekly Xbox podcast. We're happy to have you here. If you want to support us and maybe even get exclusive access to tickets, for example, for our next live show, whenever that is, you can head over to patreon.com/laststandmedia, where you'll get early access to this show every Thursday, and then we go up for free on Sundays on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, more on the mobile front in a little bit. But you can also watch us on the Last Stand Media YouTube channel. We just appreciate your support anywhere, especially with this podcast, because I want to get into our mobile reviews. A lot of you have been really stepping up to the plate as we've asked, and I appreciate that a lot. Again, it's a little bit of an uphill battle here for the Xbox show on LSM. We mean this with no animosity. Just we're a pretty PlayStation-centric network, so we have to depend on our listeners a lot more than I think, say, Sacred Symbols would have to get the word out. So when y'all leave these reviews, as I've mentioned before, they move us up in that mobile algorithm. I'm starting to see the trend up. And I just want to say again, I really appreciate it. I hate to do this, but I'm trying to push hard to really put Defining Duke on the map. And we're trying our best here by putting a good show together, being entertaining, informative, receptive, all those words. But we also want to make sure the audience can help us out where they can. And this is beyond anything involving Patreon with money. It's just, this is a free way to help us out by leaving a mobile review. It helps out the show, puts our word out there more. When people type in that D, first thing that pops up can be our show. We want that if people are looking for gaming shows. We want to be up in the charts so people check us out, because we think we got a goddamn good show. So it's up to you. We appreciate you, and we'll read some mobile reviews as per usual, just as a big thanks to those of you who stepped up to the plate, like ProStar 2. Cog, he writes, "Love spending time with the boys while I take care of the household duties. Keep it up, fellas." This is a write-in from Canada. You love to see the global presence, if you will.
Let's get the Maple Leaf popping. Let's go.
And if he's a Maple Leafs fan, he might be pleased. They just went all in at the trade deadline. But as a Rangers fan, it's showtime for those who track them. They got Patty Kane So excited, man.
Ooh, okay.
Oh
He's
man,
ready.
bro! If you told me at the start of the season we were gonna get Vlad Tarasenko and Patty Kane,
Mm.
bro, we're popping off. It's gonna be a
He's ready.
great,
He's ready. I
great
love that
season.
off-season talk. I love it.
Oh,
Let's
it's gonna be
go.
so fun. All right, next one comes from Sorenzu. Sorenzu has actually tweeted about our show multiple times and written in multiple times, so we appreciate you as well. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Working in retail can be really painful for me sometimes. Ever since I started listening to Defining Duke, my life has gotten so much easier. I get all the latest news scoops I need and get to listen to the best podcast hosts ever, Matty and Cog, the charismatic duo. You guys are amazing. I'll be tuning in forever. That's really sweet. We appreciate that so much, man. We're happy to help anyone out with our show. And, the love is sent back. I'm sure, Cog, you shared a lot of love this past weekend. But, we literally can't do this without any of you across all of our shows. But again, especially with this show, we're really pushed by our audience, and so it means the world to us. So thank you so much, Cog.
Yeah,
any
really
thoughts
nice
from you?
No, thank you. That was really well said, and I love comments like that. And again, shout out to the LSM fam, the Houston. So many people came up and was like, "Look, man, I love you guys. We love to listen to you. You guys get us through." A lot of people still, like I said, not in the Xbox ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? Sending some love. I want to give a couple of shout outs real quick, or if you don't mind.
Please, go for it.
Shout out my man Hodge. You know what I'm saying? Hodge Bob, he pulled up. FL Florida Kid. You know what I'm saying? That's my Marvel versus Capcom dude. He pulled up. Astro Parrot pulled up. He's the one that does the what you call is without context. He does
okay.
Yeah, so he has like these little he does like LSM stuff without context, so that's pretty fun. But so many people, man. The list goes, Shaw Mason pulled up.
Yeah, let's
you know
go.
what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's so many people. My man Remington, salute to him. Houston show love, man. I was really humbled. You know what I'm saying? The love that Duke gets was definitely in the building.
That makes me very happy. I'm so glad. And, certainly you and the rest of the gang deserve it. So I'm glad everyone was showing out with that love. We got a couple more here. John of the Dead 82 writes, Matty and Cog absolutely kill it weekly. If I wasn't such a fan of Colin's work, this would be my favorite podcast. That's saying something, right? Colin's like the GOAT. So the fact that we're in the talks right now is pretty damn good. The banter and rapport the Dukes have with each other and with the listeners elevate the quality to a level few can match. I listen to podcasts during my 12-hour work shifts, so I listen to a lot and have logged literally thousands of hours combined for many different shows, but nothing, and I mean nothing, has made me laugh harder and rewind back more times than Cog saying, Lolly Lule Lo. Cog is ultimate hype man. Shout out to Cog and shout out to Midnight Suns. I'm right there with you, Firaxis Cog. Salute. A lot of love for you here, brother.
My God, no doubt, and I know he know about that Lalu moment. Yeah, we know about that. Shout out to my Midnight Suns gang. I'm seeing a lot of y'all. Y'all hit me up on Twitter. I'm getting energized. The official Midnight Suns account hit me back.
Yes,
so I know we're starting a movement, baby.
You are.
We are saving turn-based one day at a time, and people are hitting me and they say, Cog, I ain't gonna front. I'm loving it. I'm like, see, give it a shot, man. Let's fight for turn-based. Let's go.
All right, we got, I think, 2 more here.
Okay.
So let's do it. The hosts have unbelievable chemistry and are always entertaining, writes JV Status. Think this show is structured really well to hit the big news items of the week while also going into great detail about the games they're playing. You're missing out if you aren't listening every week. Thank you, JV. We appreciate you so much. And Alien Blue was better. Writes, I don't even use Apple Podcasts. You better love me, Matty. Hi, Cog. We love you. We appreciate anyone who's doing this. Again, it does go a lot further than you can imagine. So please, if you have the time, continue to submit. We'll continue to read them. We will love to make this a part of our show to celebrate our audience, celebrating us, if you will. Sure. And thank you again so much for lifting us up. This will go the length when we get to the deeper parts of the year where Xbox is doing things. We really want to see this show grow alongside all of you. So we appreciate you doing the hard work alongside us. Thank you so much.
Love.
Now it's time to argue with the audience now that I've said I love them too much.
Let's fight.
Mike Poe writes in, and he's getting our show started in a good way here.
Oh.
Good day, Dukes. Many months ago, after Matty first used hog leg on the show, I wrote into the next episode expressing my outrage at the sheer disrespect paid to the first big AAA Harry Potter game. Matty read my write-in only to basically say, sorry, not sorry, this is how it is going to be. I stewed in my outrage and disgust ever since, but against my better judgment, I remained a loyal listener. I recently commented on another episode reaffirming and restating my outrage and I said that Matty would surely see the disrespect if people called one of his beloved games, Mega Man Battle Network, BatNet. To my horror, Matty replied to my comment, playfully hinting that I had unleashed something. And then on an episode of Constellation, which Matty referred to as Stelly, which Dustin, by the way, introduced that one, he boasted that he was fine with BatNet, and he is going to keep shortening things with these blasphemous, heinous abbreviations. I write in today to plead with Lord Cog. Please speak some of your sage wisdom to the young co-host. He can't keep spiraling out of control. This man's going to call Midnight Suns Mid-Sun to your face soon. For the good of the company and this show, entreat with him. I also wish to plead with Matty. Is no game sacred? Have you no decency? I used to admire and respect you. You're a fellow Trails player, and you got me into Danganronpa. There is goodness beneath your evil. I only ask that you cease with your abbreviation abominations. Cog, your thoughts, man. I see the problem here with Mike Poe is, to me, he's really making great recommendations. I would have never thought of BatNet, Mid-Sun. Mid-Sun's another good one. I never would have thought of these. Mike has a talent for this, and I think he's not utilizing it. But Cog, are you going to set me on the straight and narrow here?
Look, we may have to have an intervention on one thing. Listen, Ibont is my co-host from The Last Word, and I never see him so furious with Hogland. This man was like, yo, you got to talk to him, bro. You got to talk to him. I'm like, well, okay, all right. It's, I'm not like thrilled, but I'm like, it's funny to me.
Thrilled?
It's not like, it's not like I'm disgusted though, right? Like, dudes are coming up to be like, yo, he got to stop doing it.
People really don't like it.
That was the one that really set people off, I noticed. And I was like, all right, I'll mention it to him. But the other stuff, now, you ain't calling that no Mid-Sun. We ain't doing that.
Oh, we aren't?
I don't like Mid-Sun. First of all, you making the game sound mid.
That's true. Okay, that's true. That's true.
Come on.
Yeah, I won't do that. See, that's good. We catch those types of things. That goes in the filter process. I won't do that.
So that was the only one. But other than that, I really don't have too much of a problem. I think it's funny. You know what I'm saying? Even when Dustin said, was it Stelly or whatever?
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. I think what's the beer? Is it Stella? Is the beer called Stella? Is there a beer called that? Whatever. Anyway, regardless of whatever. Man. I thought it was a shortening for that. But anyway, I don't have too much problem. But yeah, the hog leg contingent really has words, and they would like. I know you're not going to change that, but
no, I can't. We're too far down this road, and I'm going to continue to shorten things. Unfortunately, there are ones like Wo Long you just can't shorten, right? Like I can't do Fall Die. Like that just that doesn't sound good, right? It's got to roll off the tongue. There's an elegance to Hog Leg, BatNet, and to some extent Mid-Sun, right? It's just a bang, 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 right? We're just shortening the syllables where we can, saving the oxygen, and in turn, saving the earth. So you're welcome, Mike Poe. You get a couple extra days thanks to me at the end of at the end of your life. So you're welcome. Jay Chimichanga writes in, a lot of people were very interested in this topic, Cog. Hi, everyone. I'm new here, and I got to say I love the vibes. First episode I listened to of Defining Duke was episode 112. Thank you for joining us. And the opening comment of wiping with wet toilet paper really spoke to me on a deeper level than it probably should have. As someone who has a morning routine in which I send the Ninja Turtles 2 chocolate cylinders approximately 30 minutes apart, we'll talk about that in a moment, by the way, I feel obligated to shower every morning. Wet wipes is something I gave a try to, yet sadly, it was too much for my midnight star, as I would create even more discomfort than walking with a caked up creek.
Yo.
I'm thankful to the OP and you guys for opening my eyes to new possibilities. Granted, I'll still be showering most days, but this brings an option into my life that I hadn't considered and could possibly help in days I'm running late. Best wishes to all of you. I gotta admire LSM's entire audience as the elegance at which everyone writes in about things they're incensed over, whether it be Mike Poe's writing about shortening names, or Chimichanga's writing here, again, very elegant, well-written, poetic even, about wiping his ass. Like it's actually impressive when you think about it, but Cog, how do you feel that we've actually maybe changed someone's life through the opening here of our last episode?
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be, a point of discussion. Why he got to throw the chocolate cylinders, though? What's going on? I need context, additional context. You seem like you was going to go somewhere with the Ninja Turtles. Before I comment, I need you to get into that part right there.
Yeah, to me, it was the 30 minutes apart. Like, that's because he sounds like he's talking about it's in one sitting 30
Right.
minutes
It's
apart.
apart, yeah.
And that's weird. That's just not good. You just, some people live their lives on the toilet, if you will. They spend way too long there. I've become efficient. Like I'm 5 minutes tops in out. Yeah, I used to be someone who would park it in there for a good 20 plus minutes and just go on my phone.
Yeah.
It's peace and quiet. But now I'm just like, let's go. Let's just not waste our time in here. So Chimichanga, I need you to follow up if you wouldn't mind, just to clarify, if you're spending 30 minutes for 2 dumps, or if you walk away and part of your routine is coming back 30 minutes later. Because if so, that might be more strange. And I'm going to recommend to you like a fiber supplement or something.
Yes.
That would be very important. So you do one movement and you're good. That's it.
Yeah, we got to talk about it. I mean, the 30 minutes part is definitely concerning. We got to see what's going on with the bowel movements, what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Now, the interesting part is the showering, right? You know what I'm saying? He's like, he's not comfortable with the wet wipes, which I kind of understand.
Yeah, same.
But, the question now becomes, if you go more than once a day, are we showering more than once per day? Like, how are we?
Yeah, now you find out.
Yeah, like how are we handling that post the morning, business, the morning number 2 situation? So that's my question to you. Other than that, I will say this, I've gotten better, but I used to be a person that really sit there and I get my best reading done. I have like a book, like I had like Cliffy B's book. I got like
my dad's got a Bible posted up in the bathroom, man.
And I got like a stand for the magazines. So it's like prime time. And so I had to control. It was getting out of control. So I was like, all right, I got to shorten this up a little bit. But yeah, sometimes I get my best reading, my best thoughts done.
Yeah, some people stack up. You can learn a lot about someone based on what's in their bathroom for when they're like, you'll see the crossword puzzles, the magazines, the Bibles. Like, what do you want to indulge in your most peaceful moment during the day? You can learn a lot about someone during that. And we're learning a lot about Chimichanga, as well as now Ian Spencer, who writes in, "Hey, Wet Wipes, I hope this one finds you all too well. My inquiry concerns this toilet paper issue, not so much as wetting the paper solution for a situation, but for the toilet paper itself. You both are all in on the better brands, and I agree. However, my girlfriend demands the cheapest brand due to the more expensive brands leaving behind residue. What is the solution to my tissue issue? Should I just buy my own? Divorce, yet we're not married. I can't leave her yet because she owns the Xbox Series X and she is the Xbox fan in the house. Thanks to both of you for the best laughs at the worst of times." All right, so we got to help out Ian here, right?
Yeah, we don't.
What toilet paper, we'll say, leaves the least residue is actually a suggested search. All right, so here what I've got for you, Ian Spencer, from Sleek Dwellings. Sorry, the G was cut off. Oh God, wait, hold on. It says I got to confirm I'm not a robot. That's a pop-up. This is bad. Yes. Okay, we don't want that. They're recommending Angel soft toilet paper and Charmin.
Yeah, Charmin.
Yeah, Charmin. I feel like you can't go wrong with Charmin. That's what kind of Charmin are you buying if it's leaving behind residue?
Residue. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's going on? But yeah, Charmin. The double plies, the extra soft. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. Unless he's using, I don't know what the whole deal. The ones that come with the lotions, right? I don't know if that's maybe leaving residue. I don't know. I've never heard this residue thing, so that's actually new to me.
Yeah, that's new to me as well. I don't know what he's talking about with residue. That could mean a lot of things in the bathroom, male or female, of course. It depends.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so there's some recommending more, we'll say, sustainable toilet paper. There's a 7th generation one that's economically friendly as well as environmentally friendly. You could look into this. You really shoot from the hip, but the Charmin Ultra Strong Mega Roll is going to be your best friend. Like you just need to just tell your fiance or girlfriend or whoever to get over it. Otherwise, she's not a good partner. You need to share this. You need to make sure you share the same TP. That's important. You can't have 2 rolls posted up in the same bathroom. That's a horrible conversation starter. Someone's going to go into your house and go, why do you have 2 rolls here? And they're different brands. What's going on?
Facts.
Can't
Now I'm
have that.
with you. I'm with you. That's a lot of division in the household. You know, we can't have that. I told y'all the story about Mama Cog. I had to check Mama Cog. What
Yeah.
are you doing? And again, you buying them cheap toilet papers. You out here roughing yourself up. You out here,
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing the Lord's work
Yeah. Long-term
behind it.
damage.
Yeah, you do scarring up the situation. We don't
Yeah.
want that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but salute to her. At least she's an Xbox fan. Get her on the right path. Get her to
Mm-hmm.
Charmin, and let's get
Yeah,
this thing
shouldn't take
together.
much to tell her it's a really good package value. That typically works for Xbox fans. Like sell it like you're selling her Game Pass, but for toilet paper, and you'll just be perfectly on them. She'll be like, "Oh, that's such a good deal." That's it. That's it. That's all you
There
need.
you go. Quality.
All right, quick correction. Let's get into the games afterwards. Frog writes in, "Hello, Dukes. Just a quick correction. Last week, when going over the news that Sword and Fairy Together Forever was coming to Game Pass, you said that this game was coming to Xbox for the first time, when in fact it was already on the console to purchase as of November 2022. I can understand the confusion, though, since announcing a game as something is coming to the service in July 2023 makes it seem like it is for something not available on Xbox currently. Thanks as always for the great content, and we've had a popular RPG from China on our console for months and didn't market it kind of day." Well, there you go. But thank you, Frog. We do appreciate
Salute,
that
Frog.
correction. It is much needed, and we continue to keep the record straight here on Defining Duke.
Yes, salute, Frog.
All right, let's get into the news. Very busy week for Xbox. All of their first-party studios pretty much had something going on. So let's get into an interview where Phil spoke with Xbox On. It's a good 20-minute-ish interview. I listened to it this morning while making some breakfast, and he got into a number of things, but the main takeaway to me was the type of announcements we can expect between now and the summer showcase in June. So here is the direct quote of what Phil had to say, and then we'll discuss. Quote, "So a lot of our focus right now is on the showcase in June, but there's some news that's coming out. I mean, things that, we did GoldenEye. I'm thinking like, GoldenEye type announcements. So there'll be things available, games available in different services. Obviously, the Game Pass portfolio continues to grow, but most of our focus as a team is really on getting ready for the showcase," end quote. Now, Cog, I don't want to read too deep into it, but I couldn't help but think, what could that GoldenEye style announcement be? And it really started to eat at me because I had some ideas, but I'm curious if anything came to you first.
I didn't have anything specific. It was more so like when I hear GoldenEye type announcements, I go back to what I've always lamented Xbox to do, and they finally started to do with the Develop Direct, which is the surprise, the wonder. That's why Hi-Fi Rush hit so well for me. I'm thinking of like things you don't expect, or things that they've been holding kind of close to vest. And again, similar to Hi-Fi Rush, I had John Johannes on, they held that. They could have announced that when we were all mad at them when they didn't show up to the Game Awards. They were sitting on that. So kudos to them for taking our tomatoes, as we was throwing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are y'all doing? And I still stand on it. But at the end of the day, it worked out for the Developer Direct. So that's what I'm looking at. Just, stuff things that we may have forgotten about, or announcements that they've been sitting on. That it's a nice little surprise. You go, oh, okay, Xbox. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm curious about what your thoughts. Where you think he going with this?
I had two come to mind.
Right,
These are bigger deal announcements, no doubt. GoldenEye, though, I think was a significant deal for a lot of people. I just don't have the connection to it, so it hit a little harder. But I was thinking, again, I'm going to keep beating this drum until someone tells me otherwise. I was thinking like Halo on another platform. That to me, like the Master Chief Collection on another platform is one where I think of that almost as a GoldenEye type announcement. It's a game that exists going elsewhere. Because his wording here, he's like, there will be things available, games available in different services. That could, of course, mean a number of things. That's not a direct pointer to Halo, but when he's talking about different services, games available in different places, that's where my head started to spin a little bit. The other direction I went in, because there was a tremendous amount of Fallout TV show leaks recently, showing the set overall. There was a character in Vault 33 with an NCR flag behind them. Like, it's awesome what they're doing. It actually looks good. Power armor leaks, interior vertibird. I was thinking they, beyond the Fallout 4 next gen update, probably want to have thing going with maybe one of the older Fallout games. We'll talk about it in a little bit, how Obsidian has expressed interest in a New Vegas remaster. So we'll talk about that later. But that was another one that came to mind. Maybe something for the Starfield Developer Direct, like a thing you can have now, whatever that may be. It may sound out of place for it to be Fallout, but it is a Bethesda Game Studios IP. So I'm just spitballing here, but those are the two that really did come to mind for me.
I like those.
Otherwise, it could just be surprise. This is on Game Pass, which is also a lot of fun.
No. I mean, I think you're onto something. I didn't, thinking outside the box and the fact that, Halo has been on record, so to speak, of, it may be appear on different, we can't wait to expand it to platforms, other platforms, right? And we,
very interesting word choice.
Yeah, me and you both kind of, transfixed in on that statement. Like, yo, what do you mean? What other platforms you talk about? So that's one. And yeah, no, I think you're onto something. I think there's a lot of good speculation there. So I'm for both of them and see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll see what ends up with that between now and the summer. It seems like we'll have an answer. But for now, let's move to something that's not too far away, the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. It was announced. We covered this on the show. There was trademark listings found, and so we knew it was coming. We didn't know what it would be. Now we know it includes improved visuals and frame rate, a dynamic weather system, an increased level cap, and all the DLC packaged in. Now, if you already own the base game and its DLC, the upgrade will run you $10. Otherwise, it's a standard price tag release of $60. And this release is digital only, mind you, so don't wait for that physical version. It's digital only and is due out on March 7th. Now, Sean Mason wrote in, greetings, Dukes. First and foremost, Cog, you absolutely killed it at the live show. Matty, we missed you, but I'm glad you're prioritizing your health. On to my question. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you and
Sean.
everyone's understanding.
Salute.
With the announcement of the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition, I can't help but think this is hinting that the sequel is much further along than we think. If Microsoft sticks with their showcase format from last year, showing only games that are due within the next 12 months, what are the chances that the Outer Worlds sequel shows up? As a huge fan of the game, I'm extremely curious to see the direction Obsidian takes. There are so many unknowns. Best, Sean M. So, Cog, we got a little update here for the Outer Worlds, a game that I continue to think, even though it sold well, is like criminally underrated because the aftermath in talking about the Outer Worlds has been not positive. A lot of people are not on this game at all. I always find it so surprising because it was a perfectly timed game. And to this day, we still don't have something really like the Outer Worlds, that Obsidian Bethesda style game. So I still find it fantastic. I'm excited to dive into this just to mess around with the new update some more. I adored this game. But Cog, for you, what do you think this means for the Outer Worlds 2? And are you interested in diving into Spacer's Choice Edition at all?
Yeah, but check it out. I was actually surprised about this edition, only because, at least on, as a matter of fact, now it makes sense because on Xbox, there was an HDR update, there was the 60 frames update, on series consoles. So I forget that maybe across the board, what I'm saying? I don't know if this was something that was going across the board. So you combine this, you make the Spacer's Choice DLC, you got a weather system, you improving the visuals and the frame rate. I'm all for it. I love to celebrate this game. The Outer Worlds is criminally underrated. We talked about it all the time. I talk about it's one of the greatest title screen musics of all time. Pantheon of title screen music. And that always sits well. When you take enough care to put that in your title, like you care about this game. So that's that. But to Sean's question, I think he's onto something. I think that it is closer than we think. We had Megan Starks and I forgot the other gentleman's name at this time. Oh man, he was so awesome. I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, we had them on them both on Obsidian on ILP and they talked about the writing and stuff. And we tried to press them. Obviously, they had their poker faces on. But the vibe is, Outer Worlds 2 has been worked on. It has been worked on for some time. Remember, they went from private division to Xbox, you know what I'm saying? This is coming under private division. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And remember, even we were surprised to see an Outer Worlds 2 trailer so soon. Yeah. Initially, when we first saw that one of the showcases, so it was a hilarious, absolutely hilarious, trailer sizzle. And I think I don't know if it's this year, but I definitely think sooner than later. Definitely. And I can't wait, man. Outer Worlds is so good. So good.
Yeah, the Outer Worlds 2 was announced, for those who don't remember, it was announced 2 years ago at E3 2021. And I believe Avowed was announced. Yeah, Avowed was announced the year before. So I think it's more likely we see Avowed first. And I think Avowed is going to be one of the big summer showcase games this year. At least I hope so. I think that game's super overdue as far as I'm concerned in the terms of some kind of update. But yeah, the Outer Worlds 2 is definitely further along than a lot of people recognize. I don't think it's in full production right now. But after they finished the Outer Worlds 1, there are LinkedIn profiles that multiple of them suggest that the game started right after, like immediately after 2019.
Yep.
Late 2019.
That was the vibe I got.
Yeah, this game has been, being at least prototyped for some time now. Again, we're talking 3 years and change, 4 away from the release of the Outer Worlds. So yeah, it's definitely not in full production where it should be super far along, but it's definitely going to be the one they pivot to after Avowed. I don't know if it's something that you should expect within, if we're talking from the summer showcase to the next summer of 2024. I don't think, but I'd love to be wrong. I don't think it would be there though. But I could see that being a following summer showcase. And that's a great cadence for Obsidian to be on. If you have 2 years in a row, super big, impressive AAA games, I'd be totally thrilled with that. And I'm just glad they're sticking with it, because when I played the Outer Worlds, to me, it was that you've got something here. There were some limitations in places, but immediately I went, oh, they got something. Like, this world is so fun. These characters are surprisingly interesting. There's a level of depth here in role playing. They've got it all going on. It's truly, again, the Fallout game that we haven't had in, since Fallout New Vegas came out. 2011. So it's been a while, and it's only right that Obsidian delivers that type of experience again. So the fact that they're going to continue to do that at least 2 games in a row, and also accounting for maybe any other smaller projects they end up working on, is very exciting. So, Sean, I think you're not wrong that it's much further along. I just don't think personally that we're going to see it this showcase, but I'd love to be wrong.
Yeah, I'd love to be wrong too. And I remember the gentleman's name is Natai Potter. He was the narrative designer that we had on. Okay. But I'm with you, man. I mean, it's just a beautiful game. I love the color palette. I love their take. Oh, so it's just gorgeous. And then I love their take on just characters, humor, murder at Eridanos. You gotta play that DLC. That's absolutely hilarious. And it's just God tier type stuff. And me and Carrick used to talk about it. This is one of his favorite games too. So we used to go really in depth about it. So shout out to the team. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it could be further along. But they've been basically, the vibe of what I was trying to get across is what you said, which is right after Out of the Worlds 1 finish, they were already working immediately on 2. That's the vibe I'm getting.
People got to remember, this game was literally on the back of Fallout 76 plummeting, people really hating where Bethesda Game Studios ended up, and Fallout First being announced within the same month span that this game came out. So it really propelled the Outer Worlds forward in what you could argue was a toxic way, but it certainly benefited Obsidian a ton. And I give them credit for not leaning into it at all. I remember they put in their trailer from the creators of Fallout, which I think just makes sense because that's them. And people were like, oh, what a shot at Bethesda. There was that type of hate in the air for Bethesda. And I was like, that wasn't a shot. That was them stating a fact. So to me personally, I think the game was just timed exceptionally well. It just really worked in their favor. And I'm glad that they didn't say, all right, one hit wonder, we're out. And they stuck with it. So hopefully we get an update soon. But right now, I just want that Avowed update. That is the one that has bothered me, because they posted that update on the Xbox Wire saying, you'll hear from us soon. It's been 2 years, man.
Been 2 years, fam.
It's starting to hurt. So
that's the big one. No doubt.
No doubt about it. So if we get that, at least I'll be very pleased. All right. Now, after this announcement of the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition, Obsidian spoke with The Gamer about the release. And Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky both have said that they'd love to see a graphical remaster of Fallout New Vegas. The Gamer writes that this came in response to the Outer Worlds production director, Eric DeMilt, explaining that graphics are never Obsidian's priority, but that they see potential in giving New Vegas a current-gen facelift. Man, Xbox, I was just going to put it bluntly, how many fucking times they got to tell you, bro? Like, how many ways do they got to spin it? You've got Josh Sawyer. I'd love to go back to Fallout. You've got the CEO of the company twice now on record saying, I want to work on Fallout before I'm done. Now you've got this. Come on. It's either they know something in the building is happening where they kind of feel comfortable putting this out there, or they know this makes headlines and it puts pressure, which
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of both, because there's no reason as a business these remasters shouldn't exist. I'm sorry. People can call me a fanboy till the cows come home, and I won't even deny it. These on a business front should exist. It's free cash sitting there. It's absurd that no one has leaned into them. I admire Bethesda for not, but now you're owned by Xbox and they need money. It's absurd that this hasn't been something that's like greenlit right away. So to see Obsidian even pushing for that, kudos to them. But Cog, your thoughts? Clearly, I'm in favor of this move.
Of course, I'm in favor of it. Come on, this is arguably one of the greatest Fallout games. You know, it's in contention for top one. Obsidian has been on record, like you said, multiple times. It's one or two things, like you said. You know, either it's going to be, hey, you know, we want to do this and it's already done, and we're just throwing this. I mean, the ball is already rolling. Mm-hmm. And they're just getting it out there to see, gauge interest and stuff like that. Or I know you kind of threw a shot at Xbox, but I'm gonna counter back. I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Go ahead, hit me in the face.
Or it could. What about the parent? What about the parent of this franchise? You know, a lot of Obsidian talking about what they want to do with the parent, meaning Bethesda. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very curious how Bethesda really feels about it. Because again, I'm not saying there's beef in the house. You know what I'm saying? You know, we all live together. Everything's done. I think everyone's all, you know, respectful. But it's curious because we have been on record with Todd, you know, these are his babies. These are things that he doesn't know if he could have someone else work on Fallout, right? Mm-hmm. And we do know there was a past history with Obsidian and Exile, you know, that things may have come together and Phil may have got people in the room and what have you. So I think ultimately it's all good, but I am curious if Bethesda may be like, well, we had our own plan for what we intend to do. You know,
plans change. They always do. That's what I'm doing if I'm Phil and I'm picking up the phone. You know, the reason I pointed at Xbox and not Bethesda is because Xbox owns them now. So they can muscle a little bit. Just a little bit.
Get in there. And
I think if they're going to greenlight this type of project, they wait till Starfield's done. You don't bother Todd and the team with some type of business call like this till this is done. The support is on the right track. Let's say it hits June, and sometime July, August, this conversation should start to happen. Like, hey, Todd, great job, man. You're feeling good, right? You just launched the game of the year. Woo. Hey, man, how do you feel about that Fallout IP? Wouldn't you want a little extra money? Like, this is a holiday for you, man. So I just feel, to some extent, in all seriousness, that if this is a Todd's very protective situation, which I feel pretty confident it is, and I love what Todd does, and I like Todd as a creative, but you know, the reality is you bought this IP, man. And while you're responsible for popularizing it, I do think Xbox needs to seek out their best interests and say, hey, we did a definitive edition for fucking Age of Empires 2, guys. Can we please do one for Fallout? I don't think that's such a far-fetched request. We did one for the original Wasteland within Exile. Can we do one for Fallout 3 in New Vegas, or just one of them? Again, I don't think that's an absurd ask from Xbox, given their history. And I feel like Bethesda would be willing to comply. It's about finding the team. Originally, we were saying, oh, maybe it's Alpha Dog because they seemed not too occupied. Now we know they're working on Mighty Doom. So who knows who would take it? Obsidian's showing the capability to split off into a bunch of little teams and figure stuff out. Of course, we saw Pentiment, Grounded, Avowed ongoing. So maybe they could handle it even. Who knows? Do they need a massive effort for something like this? It depends how deep they really want to go and how much they want to overhaul. But I think if they're going to remaster just New Vegas, it'd be great if it's Obsidian because they had a year and change with that game. So to give them more time with it to achieve things that they previously couldn't would be awesome. So I'm keen to see what they'll end up trying to do with this because I feel like it's just a matter of time and really when. I'm just curious how long they're going to make everyone wait.
Yeah, no, I get great points. And I agree with you on at the end of the day, Xbox does own, you know, and Xbox can suggest. And I think it makes business sense for everyone. And like I said, we'll just see if Todd and team and Fergus and team can get in the room. We've had on record with Sawyer here on Defining Duke, right? Mm-hmm. Saying that Hey, he oversees a lot of different aspects of Obsidian and stuff like that. So I don't get the sense that Sawyer would object to something like this. So
Yeah.
let's get the creatives in the room.
Pick
Let's
up the
make
phone.
something happen.
Pick up
Yeah,
the phone.
no doubt, no doubt. If not already, it's probably already happened because they talking too much in the public. Because I've never seen that
this
before.
is again the reason this type of stuff is news is, as I said, twice with the CEO, now
Yes.
now Josh twice. I mean,
Yes.
it's been a lot where I just, the gut in me is telling me, hey, something's got to be happening to some extent here,
I
like a
agree.
knowledge in the building. So who knows?
Agreed.
Because these are all higher up saying this, by the way. It's not like your average developer, if you will, like, the associate artist. It's like, no, this is the guy who directed New Vegas. This is the team that directed the Outer Worlds. This is the CEO of the company, like the people who would probably know if a call like this was happening. At least that would be my guess.
Preach. Yep.
All right, let's talk about Atomic Heart. This was a big drop for Xbox Game Pass. I was curious how it was going to do with its divisive reviews, and it's done quite well. Atomic Heart is yet another Game Pass hit as it reached top 3 in all platforms for most popular in the Xbox ecosystem. So for cloud, it reached number 2. On console, it reached number 3. And on PC, it reached number 3. And as it stands, Atomic Heart is currently the number 2 most played single-player game on Xbox, behind Hogwarts Legacy. So reviews be damned, man. This game did awesome. And that's great to see, because it's what I always said with Xbox and Game Pass. When I review any game with Game Pass in it, I say, just go check it out for yourself. Like, it's just, why does what I say matter? Of course, beyond valuing your time. But if you watch a couple minutes of gameplay, even a trailer, even, and say, oh, that looks cool, go check it out. Like, the power is in your hands, truly. So we're seeing that right before our eyes. Atomic Heart is a hit. Have you had a chance to check this one out at all?
No, I didn't get a chance because of reasons. Might as well get into it now because you missed. I didn't discuss it on ILP, but the first thing. First of all, let's get to the news because
please,
talk about that part. So the first part is this is successful, right? And that this is something that is really what Xbox is envisioning, right? Where you get a title like this and you go, okay, is this going to drive people? Is this type of deal going to drive people to get into Game Pass and to see it on Xbox, second most played behind Hogwarts, and then on Game Pass and all these different platforms? That is excellent. That's what they want. That's what you think about when you make these deals. So salute to them. As far as quickly the whole bill, there was a little bit of extra controversy that came up recently. And it was uncovered, kind of like, again, caricature. It was like an old Russian cartoon that had like a caricature of African American people, and it kind of takes like tropes from way back in the day. I don't know if you heard of Bugs Bunny cartoons where the character, has this distinct look and it's whatever. Now, again, culturally things are different, right? And it was brought to the developers of Atomic Heart to say, hey, what's up with that? You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, yo, our bad, we're going to fix it. So me personally, this COG is just going, this is the one that COG says, okay, remember I said, what to get COG to be like, I don't know, fam. You know what I'm saying? This one right now. So I'm waiting to see the removal or whatever of that. And I get it. Culturally, everything is different. And that may have been things of the time. It just didn't sit well with me, that particular one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, bro, just do what y'all got to do. And maybe I'll see y'all when it's going.
Okay. I totally get that. I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. It was IGN has an article on it. And they did address it. In fairness to the devs, they did address it. And they said, and apparently it's like, it's very small. It's like one part of the game. You go and you sit there, and this old Russian cartoon plays, and it has that little character in it. So hopefully they'll address it, and then we can see what's going on.
Yeah, but it's I didn't know that at all. But it's good to have the audience informed on it too. But yeah, it's a game that I wasn't terribly impressed with. Regardless of that, I did want to enjoy it, but it just, to me, didn't feel good to play. And
you said you had some issues with the
I had a lot of issues with the game, but I'm glad that it did well, because number one, it was definitely not a game that they didn't try. You can tell when a developer is trying and they kind of miss a little bit here, which is what happened, or when they're just kind of going through the motions. You can definitely feel that in some projects, and here there's definitely an attempt, which is good. But with Atomic Heart, it's a single player game, and those are the things we were calling for Game Pass to get. And to see them being some of the most played games is a good sign down the line for investments. Because I wondered, this is kind of the window, like starting with A Plague Tale Requiem, moving into this, where what is Xbox going to get out of these big investments from that summer showcase? We saw High on Life was major success.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about how Hi-Fi Rush was a major success. Now Atomic Heart is. These are all single player games. Line them up, knock them down. So that is a really good sign for future investments, that they aren't just going to be co-op multiplayer centric games, that single player games are clearly pushing this service just as much as multiplayer.
Preach, brother. I'm glad you said that, because I believe we had a write-in not that long ago, right? And we are talking about, if it comes in a Game Pass, is it like, fodder or quality?
That was last week.
Right? So look at what you just said. You know what I'm saying? Let's go from Plague Tales, right? From Plague Tale, then you had High on Life, right? Then we go into Hi-Fi Rush, you know what I'm saying? Now Atomic Heart, and then, oh, by the way, there's a little Wolong, you know what I'm saying? May have some potential, maybe. We'll see. But
we'll talk about it.
Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see, man. So that's why I say, like, to see what's going on with what they're getting, and Atomic Heart adds to that. That's really cool. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what's going on with Atomic Heart. Latest big day one Game Pass drop. A game that we're hoping to see this year is Hellblade 2, and a Ninja Theory financial report has been unearthed by Twitter user Tamor222. And it does reveal that Hellblade 2 has entered full production in 2021 after the team finalized their work on Bleeding Edge. And I thought this was an interesting little fun fact to kind of connect the dots between when it was announced, obviously with the Series X, which was in 2019, and when it entered full production in 2021. Again, this is a financial report that saw with my own eyes, and I was very surprised by this. And this was one I thought would be a holiday 2023 title, but I don't know, bro. How are we feeling about this? Was it announced a little too early? You think this is a culprit of the times, if you will?
It is interesting. I'm with you. Like the 2020. I'm conflicted, though, because, look, let's get to the brass tacks. Full production 2021 technically means we don't see you for a while. We still don't see you for a while. What, 24, 25? Like, what do we do? You know what I'm saying? Like, that it puts things in perspective. Then the other part of me is like, okay, you got that. And insiders, I ain't gonna put no one's name out there, and say, hey, wouldn't be surprised if we saw it the end of this year. Then, on that same Xbox On interview that we just talked about with Phil, they asked him directly about it. And remember, Ninja Theory is based out in the UK. He's like, yeah, I'm heading over there to see it. Yeah, he's visiting to see the team, to see where they're going. I am like, I don't want to go away from the brass tacks, but I am conflicted in the sense that the way it was presented from insiders and what we know is like it could be soon. So I don't know now. Now, like, this throws me off a little because it was announced in the Game Awards show with the debut of this Series X. Yeah. Right. But then if you're not in full production, when are we getting you? This is interesting. This is an interesting nugget.
It definitely is. I have to imagine it could be kind of like what we were just talking about with the Outer Worlds 2, where they were having a certain amount of the team on one project versus another. And now full production is like they've transferred a lot of their efforts there. They're also working on Project Mara, which is this kind of horror game. And that was also a ramped up production effort. So they're kind of trying to do it parallel. It's actually something that a lot of these teams are starting to do. Like we saw CD Projekt Red openly say like they're trying to go parallel with multiple projects at once and seeing if they can accomplish it, which is biting off a lot in today's AAA space, especially because these games take so long. But yeah, man, with Hellblade 2, I hope it is this year, because when that's announced alongside the console, my interpretation initially was, see at the console's launch.
Yeah.
Now it's like all the way. Now we're talking 3 years into the gen, maybe, and we might be getting it this year. I hope it does release sooner rather than later. But I'm willing to be, as always with all these games, but especially with Ninja Theory, patient, because I want them to sort of be, again, that Naughty Dog spirit for Xbox, like that, just pushing the bar higher and higher, just guaranteed quality. That's what I'm hoping they become. So if they need extra time, so be it. But if they don't make it this year, I think a lot of Xbox fans had already made up their mind, like this is probably a holiday target for them. But if this doesn't make the holidays, what does? Are we going to have a full front half of the year and unless Starfield gets late. I don't know. See, that's the thing. There's so many options here.
Then that talk starts again that I had you and Red Althor on the team of, if it's not there and it's just Starfield, that could be a potential game of the year winner. It's just Redfall. This is an L year according to your group.
Yes.
Your contingency says this. So I'm curious if it does. Not that I don't want to. Listen, I love me some Senua. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I want this thing, but it will be what will be in its place if it's not there.
Yeah.
But, we got Forza. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
The disgust.
Wow. I'm excited for Forza too, but not more than Hellblade.
not for your smash of the fall.
No, you don't want that. My fantasy draft needs Hellblade too, man. It needs Hellblade. At least one of those 3 games I put there foolishly got to come out. I got to stop playing around with these drafts, man. I got to start competing more because I put Fable, State of Decay 3, and Hellblade in the fall window as like a major 2023 for Xbox, like a year of dreams. And if none of them come out, I just lost by because I missed 3 targets potentially. I gotta stop playing around. Next draft I'm gonna get serious.
my man. I remember back then I was just like, okay, that's what he's doing. But we will see. Hopefully one of them. I am pulling off. I do want to be wrong and hope Hellblade is one of them.
Absolutely. But hey, you brought up Forza Horizon DLC. There's one coming on March 29th called Rally Adventure. So that was recently announced. You can go ahead and check that out online if anyone's interested. It looks solid, adds more cars in, more maps, all that fun stuff. And they continue to support this game, which is excellent to see. They're really sticking with it.
Yeah, shout out to Playground. Yeah, it looked beautiful. It really did. I will check it out. And I love actually playing Horizon on Little Man on my Series S for some reason. It's so beautiful on the Series S. Yeah. It's really a showcase on it. So yeah, I will definitely be picking it up and get my little rally on.
Phil talked about their ability to get fidelity and proper mocap out of their games when he was in that interview with Xbox On, and I found that interesting because when I think of Fable, I don't think necessarily of fidelity. Like its art style was not designed to evoke like real life. So I'm curious what that game's going to end up looking like when it drops, because it sounds like they're pushing some type of tech, according to Phil.
Yeah, and if it's fidelity, Attic is definitely a huge Fable fan like you. And he wants that as well. And then we got more nuggets from Phil in reference to Fable, and as far as his involvement working with Peter Molyneux at the time. So he intimated that Fable is near and dear to him in a sense. So I get the sense that not that he's involved, but he's going to be extra. What's going on with this one? You know what I mean? Like he's going to be engaged with Playground. I get the sense, especially you got that connection. You worked on the first one. There's no doubt he has a connection to it. So yeah, I can't wait.
Good point. I think that's one we see this summer. I do. I think that and Avowed are like my two big picks. Like at least right now, it's fun. We'll do predictions, of course, the week before the show as we always do. But
of course.
If I were to guess right now, like those, if I was to pick 2 big ones that'll be at the show as sort of headliners, that would be my prediction right now. Avowed and a little bit of that Fable. And if we're really eating good, we learn about Hellblade as well, but we'll see. We'll see.
Nice.
That'd be a great trifecta. But
yeah, I'm pulling for y'all on that one for sure.
We'll see, because that was the showcase I've said for over a year now that like the one where they can deliver on the 2018 promise will be their best showcase, where they just like say, here's the updates on all these teams we bought, and hopefully I feel like this has to be the year. Just given it's been 5 years since all of that, like it's probably time to see all of them. Maybe
2018, the sequel, just to update what y'all doing. Yeah, I like that.
I just think if you build around that theme, you'd probably have to strip away the whole, these games are all coming out within the next year, right? But I know you and I are both kind of thinking, I don't really like that, because as you said, it removes the sense of awe and wonder, the potential partnership announcements they could do, all that stuff. You saw them break the rule a little bit. Like obviously the Kojima game is a ways off, but it was so self-limiting that, so again, some of that wonder was gone.
Speaking of which, did you see Mr.
Oh, yeah, it's on the show. It's on the show notes.
Oh, the show. Oh, let me shut up.
Yeah. No, we're going to get into it. Don't worry. We got, like I said, this was a packed.
It's a packed one. All right.
Speaking of which, Halo Infinite had a lot going on. They dropped their season 3 trailer called Echoes Within, and that will also be releasing March 7th alongside the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. It's dubbed as the game's biggest update yet, according to 343, as it looks to add 3 new maps, 1 big team battle and 2 arena, a new game mode called Escalation Slayer, the M392 Bandit Rifle, and the Shroud Screen. Three new Forge maps are also being added to the community playlist. Those maps are Starboard, Perilous, and Salvation. Arts Room was also shown off in this trailer, but Forge lead designer Michael Shore explained that it was present there only to show off the aesthetics of the map. Cole Helgerson writes in, "Hey Dukes, Halo Infinite Season 3 launches in 1 week, and I was wondering if either of you are interested in jumping back into the game. The new weapons and maps, along with the Battle Pass items, seem to have the game on a better track to start the year. Also, when do you think we will hear of Joe Staten's departure, or if that is still even happening? Hope the live show was awesome. Thank you, Cole." And yeah, I was taking a look at Joe's Twitter because he tweeted the trailer out, and he went like, "Can't wait for you to see what the team's working on." I went, let me check his account. It still says creative head at 343. So at least on Twitter, he's still there. Right. Contrary to, I can't speak right now. Opposite of what has been reported. But I digress. Cog, what do you make of this new trailer? Because I thought it looked quite good. Like it was actually a good step forward for them.
I liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I'm very hard on them. So when I'm like, what y'all talking about now? What y'all did now? You know, it's like the bad kid.
This felt like the right thing to do. Like finally, their first step with talking about Halo Infinite. Here's a trailer, multiple maps, mode, weapon, new gadgets, Forge stuff. Feels like now we're starting to eat a little bit.
Yeah, let's turn this thing around. You know, it looked fantastic. I gotta be honest. I love the art design. I love the style. I like the actual. One of my biggest beefs with Infinite has always been the very rudimentary, basic customization options. Like I just felt like this looked like, yo, they looking decked out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm feeling that the new maps, that Shroud little cloud ability looks dope. Yeah. One of them Forge maps look like they doing some Toy Story. They in somebody's house. Like
I think that was Art's Room. That was the one. That one was kind of weird to me that they were like, oh, we just put it there for the aesthetics. Why? But I was in my head, I'm like, now I'm being a dick because I did give them a lot of shit, but they have a really good looking update here. And you're right, the armor did show out. It's wild. There was like one with a knife across the chest.
The thing. Yeah,
I was thinking what they had here.
Pop Forge. Look, we always said it. Forge will give this thing life. The creativity the community comes up with, they're leaning into that. Look, I don't want to get too gassed, right? But this is a nice little mini start to starting to build things back up, right? Again, we got to get to what I consider the Taken King moment, which is you go, boom, here's Certain Affinity's new mode. Here's the new, Unreal Engine, blah, blah, blah. And it's Spartan versus whatever. And now you got a meaty package to say, come on back, guys. You know what I'm saying? So this is a good start. Yeah. More maps, more content. Keep it up. I'm still on y'all, but I'm going to be nice. This is a nice little start. It got me like, yo, I gotta get in there and see what's going on.
Yeah, same. Did you happen to notice, sir? There was some rocks with snow on them in one of the maps.
Biomes?
We might finally be crawling our way to some snow.
I hope so. My thing is this, Matty. Like the part that frustrates me about the news when they were like, you know, all the major changes, and obviously we state, and I want to answer the question, is just that I don't want to wait 6 to 7 years for any advancement on the story. Like, even if Chief's story is going to be in a halt where it's at, give me some stories of whatever else is going on in this universe so that a narrative focused guy can still want to play Halo. Like, I have no incentive for the single player part. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I don't know if that's part of the plans. I don't. But, and obviously stating things interesting, I personally still think he's probably still going on and maybe it's still a transition period. But hey, don't let me find out that something changed and he's staying, you know what I'm saying? But it would be shocking to me that they made the announcement he's not going. I just think it's more of a transition plan and, you know, at minimum, maybe stay on as an advisory. Who knows if he wants to, but yeah, but let's see what happens. But that's my only last bit of, not frustration, just sadness. Like, damn, I want some more single player. Yeah. Give me the Lockside story. Give me what Atriox or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me something to keep advancing this thing. You guys got something. Don't be like, now we got to wait 7 years for the next
Mhm.
Master Chief. Like, nah, let's not do that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
with all the changes in leadership and everything, and now it's been reported multiple times that single player really wasn't a part of their plans for expansions and DLC. I do wonder what that next Halo story is going to be, because I think it's important. Halo Infinite felt like the start of what could be an interesting story. It definitely felt incomplete, though. Or not even felt, it is incomplete. Hence why people want to see more and learn more. And I'm right there with you. I'm just curious when that's going to be, because right now with all those changes and refocusing, probably completely changing their business strategy too. You have to imagine that there was some setback there, which means we're going to have to wait a little bit longer than originally anticipated following the launch of
Mm-hmm.
Infinite.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, shout out to 343.
Yep,
Echoes with the launch trailer looks really nice.
absolutely. We got a couple of updates around the Activision deal, both hail from Microsoft President Brad Smith. Number one, he told CNBC that Sony's current Call of Duty deal ends in 2024, so the clock is ticking on that one. And number two, he clarified the Xbox Nintendo partnership that we talked about in our main story. He said, quote, "We want the record to be clear and address any misunderstandings. I'm delighted to repost below this statement and affirm Microsoft's strong commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo's customers if our acquisition of Activision Blizzard is approved by regulators," end quote. So writing the record here by saying pretty much like, yeah, we're not going to go and bring, maybe Starfield to Switch. Don't expect something like that, guys. We're just looking at Call of Duty right now. And again, that's what we said last week. I don't think it means that there aren't Xbox games coming to Nintendo, but that what was stated with that deal was revolving around Call of Duty. That agreement was around Call of Duty. But the Call of Duty deal with Sony perhaps is the more noteworthy information here, that it ends in 2024. So Sony playing with a little fire, right? Because right now, Xbox is clearly trying to acquire them. That's old news. But then you think about, you always talked, Cog, about the relationship that even if this deal doesn't go through, that bridges have been burned. And now this deal is ending in 2024, where even if this deal is canceled, you talked a lot about the idea of Activision just saying, well, here's your marketing deal, Xbox. We want to team up with you. And that, now knowing how close it is to being over, I can't help but think that that is a very likely possibility if this deal were to fall through. But I'm curious as to your thoughts on both these bits here from Brad Smith.
Yeah, shout out to Brad for clarifying, because I thought with the Nintendo thing, that was a big point of contention. Yo, is everything going to Xbox? Like, what I'm saying? I mean, to Nintendo, is Xbox stuff going to Nintendo? So again, clarity there. But yeah, like we said, we talked about the human element. We talked about Bobby Kotick. We talk about, this marketing deal. We get clarity. Obviously, it ends 2024. So look, there's a human element, as we said. So does that change if the deal gets blocked? And there's a part of me that says, well, Cog, business is business. Sony's install base is huge. Do you, walk away from that when you got this great relationship? Because they've had it for a little bit now. They've had it, because I remember Xbox had it during the 360 era. It was very critical for the success of the Xbox 360 to have Call of Duty marketing and stuff like that. So if, the deal gets blocked, we get into this multiverse of now what's going to happen. I could see Microsoft backing the truck up, and saying, hey, we want this back. And then here's the thing. If it does happen, you would assume Bobby and Activision would be more receptive to deal with Microsoft after Sony, blocked them. And then we get back into the thing. This is the only part of exclusivity I don't like. I've never mentioned this. I don't care. I mean, exclusivity as a whole, I'm okay with. Remember, Cog's always like, yo, you bought it, you do what you want. The only thing I don't like is with multiplayer, because me coming from a Destiny perspective,
Right.
I hate when the maps get held back and this platform ain't got this gun and this platform. Like, I don't like that part, because now you segment the community a bit, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is you start playing that game, and then here it goes, okay, now Xbox got the exclusive skin and the map, and they got the 4 days early and all that. That part with multiplayer games always feel a little weird to me, because, you know what I'm saying? Because you got a whole base that paid the same amount, and they ain't getting the exact same content, which what happened in Destiny's case during the Activision days. Destiny guys were paying the same money on Xbox for less content. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Exotics and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the part. But yeah, we got to see. We got to see. The wheels and the gears keep turning on this situation. But and also some news and information came out that now I guess some type of subpoena or Sony's going to have to provide their third party information. So this thing is going on.
Could be a
man.
lot of black bars on that document.
Ooh, and how the redacted or what is being said and how much is being paid for these third party exclusives, the verbiage. We've heard the rumors about, oh, you can't be on Game Pass kind of stuff. Listen, the dirt's going to come out on both sides, and we're going to they're fighting tooth and nail. Sony, for their stakeholders, and I get it, you know what I mean? And to maintain that dominance in that space, as well as that money, and Xbox like, yo, we're not the market leader, fam. Like, you guys got 90% or what have. It's just, I get both sides on some level. I have my personal feelings on competition. We've already said that a zillion times, but the saga continues. Hopefully August, we get the next step on the judge in this decision, what's going on.
We'll see in due time. For now,
yes.
We talk about what's currently releasing on Xbox, like Hi-Fi Rush, which it's been confirmed that has surpassed 2 million players. And a new update is out now that adds photo mode alongside some bug fixes. Awesome numbers to see for a game that's not typically in Xbox's blood, right? But this is really, really nice to see. So I'm glad it's been a tremendous success for them.
Absolutely. Shadow dropped, not marketed, single player game. We saw the Steam number. I'm so proud of John and the team and Tango for doing something completely different. It's just, it's special. It's special to see. So salute to that whole team. I am super proud of Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah. Look at what it did without marketing. You know what game got a lot of friggin' marketing? Trailers at every single state of play? Deathloop did. And goddamn it worked. They have surpassed 5 million players.
5 million! Woo!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Congrats to Arcane. I'm glad they had a real big success here. It pains me a little bit, but I'm glad that they're winning here. I'm glad that they have positive news, because when they release games, I got to be real. In all seriousness, all slander set aside,
let's go.
Whenever they update on their games, it's usually underwhelming sales, half of their last release, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of been Bethesda's name and game for a while now. And I give Bethesda credit for still doing like sequels to Wolfenstein, sequels to Dishonored. As much as I love Dishonored, it never performed super well financially. Prey never did gangbusters. This has amassed a huge player base, though. And there's no doubt there will be a sequel. I mean, the voice actor of Cold Vaughn pretty much confirmed it already. He kind of slipped on it, but I'm glad that it did well for them. I'm glad that they're going to have the chance to make something again, probably, that people are very excited about, very into. And I hope it's more for me. It's the Arcane style experience I'm looking for. But more than anything, just as a huge fan of them as a team, I'm glad they had a big win, like a true victory.
Yes. And I was thinking about a little bit further in terms of your frustration and the dichotomy.
I said it to Cog on Discord. I was like, I lost. I lost the war.
I feel you. No, brother, I feel you. But you know what I was thinking, though? I don't think you necessarily lost. I'm going to tell you why.
Let's hear it.
Sometimes as a studio, right, you've got your main meat and potatoes, what you do. Great. And that's that Prey. That's that That's that Matty immersion world building that he loves, right? And then you send out your masterpiece to the world, and it ain't received the way it's supposed to be received, right? And you like, man, we put our blood, sweat, and tears. And although it's critically received well, commercially it didn't do well, right? So now you go, okay, let's try to change lanes again. Let's do this a little bit. We pull back a little bit on the immersion stuff that Matty we know he loves and our core loves. Let's give what this new generation of fans want. Sometimes a little invasion here and there, and extra pompous, but a little, and Redfall a little bit. We go in a little bit. We just make some edits. But what happens? Let's just say now Deathloop becomes successful. Let's just say Redfall becomes successful. Now you're in Xbox Game Studios. Now you have that security. You could be like, okay, but our main vein is that Prey and that Dishonored. Yeah. So now that can fund that sequel to the Prey, that sequel to the Dishonored, and give. So this is the Matty Lane style games. And then we got the new generation thing. And everybody wins, babe. You know what I'm saying? So does that excite you that maybe Arcade could live in that kind of world? Or do you don't want them still flirting at all with this Deathloop Redfall energy?
because you think that it's going to just overwhelm them with success and they won't go back to their roots?
Yeah, I mean, look, I want them to succeed first and foremost, even if their games end up not being for me. But the reality is what happened is because of the introduction of like multiplayer, for example, at least to me as a player, it seems like it sacrificed a lot of that world building and exploration that they're known for. If they can find a hybrid to that really doesn't have that sacrifice, and maybe Redfall is that, because Redfall has shown pretty much every building you can enter, and that's been awesome to see as someone who loves that type of exploration from Arcane, and it would make sense that's a Harvey Smith game. No offense to Dinga Bakaba or anything like that. It's just it's more so like Harvey's the one who defined
for sure.
Dishonored, like that was his thing. Rafael Colantonio was the one who really was behind Prey. But you know, with Deathloop, if the sequel, now that they've adjusted to the tech more, can evoke more of the traditional Arcane experience beyond just supernatural stealth, but the actual exploration that's like a bullet point, probably first on my list at least in their games, I wouldn't mind at all, because then the invasion mechanic wouldn't be to me a negative, because it's drawing back what adds to the game. So if they can find this way to add multiplayer, which they seem to want to do, right? The co-op, the invasion, they seem to want to have that be a part of their game. If they can find that without conceding too much, I'm for it. Because Deathloop, again, I always say it still felt good to play. There were elements that felt very Arcane. It's just that, I mean, if you play a level of Dishonored 2 or even Prey, and then you play a level in Deathloop, it's staggering to me how dramatically different the sense of openness and exploration is. And that's important because, like, with these powers you get, you open up your own pathways, rooftops, going through buildings, having NPCs with their own patterns everywhere. Like, that's what these games are built off of. So it's not just me wanting to get loot. It's way further than that. So if they can find that in between, Cog, like, I'd be ecstatic, because then it's just adding to a formula that I already love rather than taking away from the existing thing that made me fall in love with them in the first place.
No, and I get that, but what I really want to kind of pin you down with is the single player game that you like, whether it be a sequel to those ones that you talked about, or another maybe allows them to fund a new single player Prey like, Dishonor like, in a new universe. Are you okay with that?
Making the sacrifice now to get something big and popping like that later?
Right. Like, for example, you know how we look at Pentiment. So I don't want to put Prey inside of the Pentiment bag.
Sure.
But, you know what I'm saying? Like, Pentiment is something that would not have existed, right, without Xbox Game Pass and the fact that, you know, Josh pushed it to the team. So let's just say, because the lack of commercial success of Prey and Dishonored, right, made them go this direction. But now they can come back because they're with Xbox Game Studio to do a Prey or Dishonored-like game. Would that encourage you so that they could go back to that?
If that's their plan, sure. I just, you know, it's one of those things where I think once they smell that level of success,
I think so.
I mean, I don't blame them. They're a business, right? And they're creatives. And if they can kind of make this, Dishonored wasn't a safe game, by the way, I'm sorry, Deathloop wasn't a safe game. But if they can make the safer game in a high risk business, I wouldn't blame them at all. So I feel like if they find that success after, you know, looking all over, you know, I don't think they're going to just turn back. I don't think they're going to 180. That's why I said I view. That's why I answered your question the way I did. Of I think they'll end up at the end of the road where they want to just mix these together without as little concessions as possible.
Interesting. That is interesting. Okay,
we'll see.
You know your people. You know your people. So I trust your judgment.
All right, next up on the list, Xbox Game Studios. We learned last summer's showcase that they are teaming up with Kojima Productions. That was following a lot of rumors about some type of cloud-based game. And we just saw photos, nothing really else to really go on about, but the Xbox Game Studios team had visited Kojima Productions. So they're working on something. Yeah, working on something.
I'm seeing these jackets.
Yeah, they're making, now you think about it, Aaron Greenberg and his team traveling, Phil traveling. It's clearly that summer showcase vibe, seeing what's popping. Can we get anything going for our show? What's happening here?
They got the Kojima joint. We see Green. We see the whole squad. Like, yeah, they look like they visited. They saw maybe a little glimpse of what we're talking about. Look, you know, I've gone on record, you know, how I feel about Kojima. I know the Sega boys feel their way, you know, about him. And me and you did we did a Stelly recently. Yes. And Kojima's name came up, and I looked at your face, like the Sega boys are glowing. Yeah. Right? They're glowing right now.
I thought they were joking, man. I thought they were joking with how much they loved Kojima. I couldn't fucking believe it. Like Dustin's like, oh, he's amazing. I'm like, okay. Then Chris is like, oh, he's great. And then Colin's like, yeah, Death Stranding is brilliant. I'm like, I asked Colin, like I felt like an asshole. I was like, dude, are you kidding? I was like,
and I'm over there making little gestures of carrying the packages. I'm in full clown mode. I'm just being silly. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I know what Matty's thinking right now, but we will derail this whole conversation. And Kojima wasn't the subject of interest at the time, the topic of interest at the time. So it was kind of, I had to bring up that moment because I know you were thinking what I was thinking. We were like, oh, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, but it was interesting to hear.
In defense, a lot of people feel that way, about that game and how he jumps outside the box. So what I will say is, again, like I've always been consistent, is that I love to see him in the way his mind works, utilize cloud tech. I think he could be the one to do something creative in the space.
For sure.
Anybody could push it. It's potentially him. So I am interested in that. And hey, if you want to give me some old Metal Gear stuff, what I like or not. Pre-Lely, I'm for that.
There's rumors of like a remake or a remaster of some kind with that series.
You want to throw that in the mix? Yeah. I'm all for that too. But yeah, listen. At the end of the day, it's a big get for Xbox. This is a huge, flag in the ground. We are serious in this space and in this region, and that. He's the last of the rock stars. What I would consider, me and Cliffy B had this conversation. You don't see the rock star dev like you used to. You know what I'm saying? So I would say he's definitely of that ilk. Probably arguably the greatest, you could say, as far as name recognition.
Yeah, especially in Japan, no doubt.
Oh, for sure.
All right. I apologize if I don't pronounce the name of this company correct, but we have estimations on Xbox Series unit sales that I think are worth discussing. Ampere Analysis's Piers Harding Rolls has estimated that 18.5 million Xbox Series consoles have been sold by the end of 2022, which is definitely less than PS5's 30 million, I believe it is, but not too bad. All things accounted for here. Not too bad when you look at pretty much Game Pass doing the heavy lifting for the most part. We are seeing more exclusives now. We saw, Halo Infinite, Forza. Psychonauts wasn't an exclusive, but it's a first-party game. We saw in this past fall a lot of delays. High on Life. I always mix those two up. Being kind of the major centerpiece of the holiday window. Hi-Fi Rush did eventually come out, so the pickings haven't been plentiful, but to see 18.5 million units built off of that is maybe a good sign for them moving forward when they really do start to truly deliver this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I'm be brutally honest, like during what we call it, the great drought of 2022, whatever we call it.
Yeah, there's got to be a term for it, man. That was the down bad times.
I
run the show. I don't get it.
I know, right? What were we doing that year? So at the end of the day, it's like I remember having this conversation with Jez and then Rand, and shout out to the Xbox too, and just like I put it up there in the top 5, worst Xbox moments. You know what I'm saying, when they didn't have a major first party release, AAA kind of release from the studio. So for them to be where they are and have Game Pass growth where it is impressive. I can't, considering that the software, let's be honest, the software has not hit yet. Like we're still waiting for that major cadence, and that's what we expect this year, right? That's what we're going on. We talked about the third party stuff, but we're working for that first party stuff. And to me, that's what drives people to either A, get the console, or B, subscribe to the service, right? And I think ultimately, so honestly, what this shows is that on some level, Game Pass is working because let's be honest, if we want to go head to head, exclusive for exclusive and a reason to buy a platform, PlayStation is giving you way more at this point. Yeah. So for them to be, if you want to say they're 30 and you want to say the 18.5 close to 20, right? And they haven't had major first party releases the way PlayStation has. I mean, look, they're coming up against The Last of Us, all those titles, God of War, Ragnarok just hit. You know what I'm saying? So the way I look at it is they're still competitive considering. Now let's get rolling. Let's see what happens with these games hitting. And then hopefully, we'll see what happens. And then obviously the Call of Duty factor is another reason why they really want to get into the mix of that, because that helps them close the gap.
No doubt. So we'll see how it ends up. Obviously, I always go back to the PS3 360 gen where PlayStation really closed the gap on Xbox. Of course, Xbox stopped producing units and all that stuff. So we know they made the transition, which not to shrink down any of PlayStation's efforts, but it did make it a little bit easier to catch up. But the fact that they did catch up at all when they were so behind at the start shows that, not to make it all console worry, but that Xbox can go neck and neck with PlayStation, which is what we want ultimately, because I think that's when there's no clear market winner. They go head to head, they get more competitive, we get better games, we get better, more diverse ideas that try to break barriers, and that's what we want ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, just a little update on Game Pass. Speaking of which, Microsoft is bringing a preview of PC Game Pass to 40 new countries this week. The preview will include access to all the hundreds of games available on PC Game Pass for a special test price for the first month. The 40 new markets see the service expand to countries across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, including Croatia, Iceland, Libya, Qatar, and Ukraine. Game Pass is now available in 86 countries. So it's just expanding its reach ever more so.
I love this news. I love this news. This is a shift that I think is indicative of what they talked about their last recent talk on Game Pass growth. Mm-hmm. And they said actually they kind of stalled out on console Game Pass growth, but PC Game Pass growth, they saw this huge uptick, right?
Yeah, good point.
So now let's expand that region. Again, you expand that. More PC Game Pass. This is the people who weren't playing Xbox games in regions and countries you need to get into. And then also it utilizes the backbone of Azure, right? And this is the only thing I've been consistent when I've said with the FTC situation is that Azure is strong out here. I've worked in IT. I worked in cloud infrastructure. It rises. It has surpassed a lot. They're coming up on Amazon AWS. They're in the mix. So when you're in these new markets and you get a new base that now plays Xbox games, that's what they want. So this is huge. Don't a lot of people shouldn't underestimate this part.
Absolutely. Speaking of Game Pass, Agostino Simonetta from the Gunk publisher Thunderful Games has shared that, quote, Xbox and Xbox Game Pass were instrumental in enabling the team to bring the game to market and allowing so many players to play the game. They say, we loved working with Xbox on the Gunk, end quote. I want to bring this up again just because I think it's important we continue to acknowledge that the indie developers, the smaller publishers seem to really benefit from being able to have games exist at all, which is really important to keep in mind, again, with the circulation of information about Game Pass destroying sales of games, that oftentimes they make games possible as well.
Absolutely.
Not to sound overly defensive, but that was my major talking point that week for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that because every yin there's a yang. And I think people, don't truly see that aspect, and they don't go to developers and do the work to find out how the sausage is made, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like you said, it would not exist without it. And these are examples of the opposite, which is like, yo, see what's happening? It would not have come out without this situation. So we want to see more of that, especially in the indie scene. I love indie, so I love to hear that stuff.
Next up on the list, stepping out of the Xbox realm now, finally, like I said, really, really busy week. We've got some general news to catch up on here, like Elden Ring. It announced a new expansion, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and it's currently in development with an unannounced release date, but this happened at about 3 a.m. It was just, I was about to go to bed, and I saw it and went, oh, wow, cool. So we're getting more Elden Ring. This makes sense. This sold over 17 million units, so it is only right that this game gets more content. I'm glad they've announced it. We'll probably get it by the end of the year, but I'm excited for more Elden Ring. This game is fantastic. It was just neck and neck with this and a Plague Tale Requiem. I ultimately went with a Plague Tale Requiem for my game of the year, but Elden Ring is absolutely fantastic, and getting more of that sounds like a good deal to me.
You're tarnished. You're tarnished people. Indeed. You're getting stuff. Nah, salute to Elden Ring, man. What a story. What a story. This is impressive. Makes perfect sense. And I love to see that the Souls community get rewarded and get more content for a beloved game. This is a game I've seen King David play. He don't play those Souls games, bro.
Oh,
so he was thoroughly invested in Elden Ring. So that's saying something, man. The success of this game is tremendous. I understand the impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because I was originally thinking maybe they wouldn't do it because Sekiro was also a success and they didn't really do any major DLC with it. They did kind of a gauntlet boss mode finally in a free update. But they never did any major expansions for that game. So I wasn't so sure they were going to do with Elden Ring, but it really does, of course, make sense given its success. But with them working on Armored Core, you just never knew if that was going to be a focus for them. But it is, and that's awesome to see. Next up, Luminous Productions is merging with Square Enix on May 1st. Between now and then, they will focus on Forspoken support along with DLC that's dropping this summer, which, speaking of DLC, that may not make sense. I am very, very surprised Forspoken has earned DLC, even a new quest line for this summer. But for those who don't know, Luminous Productions is the developer behind Forspoken. It released and didn't seem to do too well commercially due to the sales charts that were available. Any game that was releasing in its time frame beat it on the charts pretty clean. So this is something a lot of us saw coming, that something was going to happen with this team. They haven't really had a major win yet. And Forspoken didn't look like a very cheap game in certain areas. So I imagine Square Enix is trying to mitigate this disaster here, because we just saw them sell off their whole Western division. Their Japanese division has been the part that's made the money for them with Final Fantasy 14, with their HD 2D games, the low investment, high ceiling type games. So when they have a big miss like Forspoken, kind of reminiscent of, you'd say, Avengers, they seem quick to make the change here. We're just about over a month now away from the release of this game. And as I said, when I dropped my review and people were trying to get really uppity about the awful dialogue in the game, I said, people aren't going to care in a week. And here we are now, where no one's up in arms. And most of the conversation is, yeah, that makes sense. So, Cog, what are your thoughts here on what's going on with Luminous Productions and Forspoken?
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember the conversation around MPD, and I remember when it charted. I think 7. Don't quote me. It charted on MPD, and people were like, "Oh, it did well." But to me, I look at what's indicative of the actual reception from the actual publisher, right? And this, to me, states that they had a higher critical expectation for this game. That's how I look at it. When you see moves like this, to me, they were, and it seems consistent with Square. I got to be honest. Like they seem to have these very lofty expectation and maybe targets internally of what their IPs expect to do. And even though they may do well, it may not be well enough for what their projections were. And that's the vibe I get. I got to be honest. And Square, this is Square being Square. This is what they do. This is the mercenaries of the business. So not too surprised by this, but just how quickly these things kind of happen. It was what raised my eyebrow.
Very fast move here.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Luminous, but they're at least finishing up support for Forspoken before they focus elsewhere. Where that is, I have no idea. Next up, just a brief confirmation through a WB Discovery earnings call. Mortal Kombat 12 is apparently set for this year. So we can look forward to that one. I'm excited for this. I think that NetherRealm just doesn't really miss. They just consistently make these fantastic fighting games. I wasn't super in love with, which Mortal Kombat game was it? Or it was Injustice 1. Injustice 1's online balancing I thought was pretty poor. But otherwise, they are pretty consistently strong. And I'm just excited to see what they're doing next, man. Absolutely. Yeah. So you're going to pick this one up? I mean, the fighting game renaissance is going to be real, bro, between this, Tekken.
Oh, it's my childhood.
We're doing good.
Bro,
we're doing good.
We get Tekken, a new Street Fighter, a new Tekken, potentially a new Mortal Kombat. Look, we got to give Mortal Kombat its flowers. They've held, shout out to my man Gene Falk, we FGC. Shout out to my man Florida Kid. You already know we was up in Houston. What was that joint? It was called the Cidercade, bro. It was a barcade type joint with just beer ciders. It was fire. Hodge pulled up. Everybody pulled up. It was dope. But my man Florida Kid, salute to you. We were talking about it. He's playing Marvel vs. Capcom at one of the joints. But look, Mortal Kombat, I want to give them flowers because when the FGC was dying, right, and people felt like fighting games were not really profitable, Mortal Kombat, by reinventing themselves and then having a cohesive narrative that involved every single character, every chapter, and then bringing it back, they now have They surpassed my great Namco with Tekken. Like Tekken was the king of the stories for my concern as far as fighting game narratives, but they surpassed them. They lapped them. It's not even. And now Tekken regressed a little bit, so I'm hoping Tekken 8 gets back to where it is. But yeah, I'm hyped. Mortal Kombat, let's go. Let's see what
100%.
you're doing. You know, what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying?
can't
I'm
wait to
excited.
see whenever that's announced. I'm sure by
Yeah.
this summer we'll have a better idea, but very exciting to know.
Mhm.
Next up, we got a state of play that happened, and the big talking point was really Baldur's Gate 3, which we will get into. That what was also shown there was Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, Resident Evil 4 again, Street Fighter 6, Naruto Cross Boruto, which was a new Ultimate Ninja Storm compilation style game. Chia was there, and Humanity was there. So it seems like just re-upping all of those marketing deals, making sure we're staying up on the trailers. It was a pretty low key state of play, nothing too impressive. We'll start off with Suicide Squad just to dive into that because the reception wasn't too good. Derek Mozzarella writes in, "Hey Dukes, with the recent Suicide Squad gameplay reveal, I feel it has to be asked, why are companies in 2023 still chasing their own loot-driven live service game? After so many failed attempts like Anthem, Godfall, Avengers, and WB's own Gotham Knights, you figured studios and publishers would have learned some kind of lesson. Even Ubisoft couldn't compete with a game like The Division 2, which was polished and well-reviewed. It seems like it's clear for years now that unless you're Borderlands, Destiny, or Diablo, people aren't going to stick around, yet publishers still seem dead set on trying. Thanks for the great show every week, guys." Thank you, Derek. Cog, I'm curious as to your thoughts on this one. I shared some on my own channel if anyone checked that video out, but I was not pleased with what I saw for Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. I do have some thoughts on what Derek wrote in, but I'm curious how you felt about the overall presentation.
It's tough for me because I'm the looter guy. That it's kind of like,
Yeah, did you like it?
I'm like, all right. I'm not gonna say I loved it. I was just like, okay, I see what y'all doing. You know what I'm saying? But I get it. Like people, Matty, like my people, like you. Shout out to my man Fonz Gaming. Like they are not happy with this at all. Like disgusted. Like what are we doing? And we got to be real. Like I said, like these companies are trying to chase it. They want their hashtag just to, multiplayer game live
Just
service.
two. Oh man,
Yeah,
the inception of Just Two has happened. Okay.
Just to debut. They want that. I get it. Like they see it, bro. They seeing that money, that Fortnite. They seeing it. They just want, they just too over here. So they could get that bad. Companies are like, how do we get that? And the sad part about it is where I do empathize with you guys is that there are just some properties I don't know if it just fits, especially when you throw a tied license on something, that's like DC and it gets sticky. We've talked about this before, I think, with Colin and stuff, and it just sometimes you lose immersion, right? Because you have these great characters, and then you start seeing gear score and number, and you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it doesn't fit universe. The reason why Destiny on some aspects works is because it's like space magic and space creatures. You know what I'm saying? You could get away with something, but when sometimes you grant something in realism, like Avengers, and it's superhero, yes, but there is some type of human. Sometimes it takes you out of that. So it's on them to try to pull this off. I don't envy them because the reception from the hardcore don't seem good. It's going to be interesting to me if the casual will gravitate, and sometimes that happens too. The casual pick it up and it becomes a success, and then the hardcore like, damn, these people like this is garbage. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. Me personally, it didn't blow me away, but I wasn't disgusted either. But the majority of people that I know that love these type of games were disgusted. They were just like, nah, I'm not with this announcement, bro.
Yeah. It's the most unpleasant part about it is knowing this is from the team that invented free flow combat. For me, I'm not pissed that they're trying to do a live service game. It's that y'all reinvented the superhero genre and now you're just another cash chasing company. And that's really disappointing to see, especially when the rumor was before this, they were working on a Superman game. And I believe those rumors because this game is set in Metropolis and you see all of Superman's home all over these trailers, but now it's the home to a co-op romp. To answer your question, Derek, I can only speculate here, but this is where long development times really bite these companies in the ass and where high risk, high reward plays a factor. If you've got a good, unique live service game and it hits at the right time, I mean, you win bigger than anyone in this industry, right? I mean, Fortnite's a perfect example of that. But when these companies start to concept their games, your Anthems, your Godfalls, your Avengers, when we get them sequentially, it's because 4 or 5 years ago, everyone goes like, oh, let's make one of those. And they come up with this idea, the looter slasher. Oh, you play as the Avengers and you go to these mission spots, like print money button, right? They all sound great. But as they all come up with those same ideas that fail to diversify and they get to the point of delivery, the audience is fatigued. A lot happens in that 4 to 5 year range. And I think that's why we're seeing it, Derek. It's not that these companies in the last year or two said, all right, let's do this. Like, these were decisions made years and years and years ago. And now we're seeing the fruits of those labors. And it's not a pretty sight as we continue to see Godfall just shut down. We're seeing everyone try live service, and many are failing. And I have no doubt that Suicide Squad's going to stumble out the gate strictly because of its reveal being so uninspiring compared to anything Rocksteady has made in the past. The cutscenes, the style of them, the story, you could tell it's Rocksteady there. Like, that's the part I'm excited about, because you could feel they're at least cooking something here. Like when Flash becomes human again for a moment, and he's like, you got to kill us. He's saying that to Wonder Woman. I was like, okay, I like where they may go with this. And that could be the game's calling card. But there's no doubt that this is now, if you don't have a very unique approach, doing damage to these games. And especially if you're a superhero game, because the idea these teams are coming up with is, oh, it's your favorite superhero, it's live service. Dude, again, print money button all day, but it's not panning out that way. And we're even seeing that on the single player front. There's a fatigue. You have to stand out. And I won't talk much about my game because it's very different from what anyone and by different, I mean like the actual workload. You know, we're talking about AAA versus my stuff. But one of my philosophies before I even started working on our game was, and you can only have so much foresight, but Cog, you've seen the game, and it's like, it's not a common looking game. And that's the thing you want. Like, you don't want to, you know, it can hurt you if you look a little too weird. I don't think we're super out of pocket, but like, you want to invoke something that makes people look and go, oh, I haven't seen that before. And I hope my game does that. But point being is, I think the problem here is when you see live service, it has an ick to it, and and it's hurting these games. And especially now they're coming from prolific developers who haven't, in this case, released a game in 8 years by the time this drops. It's going to hurt a lot more for them. And I'm pulling for them. I love what Rocksteady has done in the past. I don't think they've really made a bad video game when you look at Arkham Asylum, City, and Night even. I think they've just been fantastic. But they went off the grid for a while. That spells trouble. Now you see what they come back with, and it all starts to make sense. All of the reports, all the rumors. And so hopefully, Derek, that explanation suffices. But that would be my prediction, is that when they game plan these things, it's years before everyone's tired of live service.
Yes. No, good point. Good point. And again, a lot of times when they game plan, they're looking at the current trends of what's actually popular at the time. And sometimes publishers are influenced and make a shift internally to say, okay, let's make one of those. And that's how you get that shift, and with the bag chasing starts sometimes.
That's why indies are the ones that these publishers and developers would be smart to follow, because the indies need to stand out more than anyone. So they do, again, what I'm trying to do. Let's make something different. Let's think different. We'll take the risk. We'll hopefully see the reward. And then AAA will see it and go, let's do that, but bigger. That's what they should be doing, quite frankly, and what a lot of companies have done. But the other game we saw, Cog, that was a big talking point was Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 was a big controversy. To my surprise, I didn't know this many people cared about it. I was stoked to see it's coming out August 31st. I was like, this game is going to be so raw. I cannot wait. But it was announced for PS5 when it launched. PC, of course, we already knew it's there. No Xbox, though. So there was a lot of upset gamers, and now we have a note from Larian on what happened here from their community manager. They wrote on their Baldur's Gate 3 Reddit, "Hey all, thanks for the hype and enthusiasm following yesterday's announcement that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming to PS5 day and date with PC on August 31st. Xbox players, we've seen your questions about if/when you can expect Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox. We've had an Xbox version of Baldur's Gate 3 in the works for some time, but we have run into some technical issues, particularly with split-screen co-op. We are still working on an Xbox version of Baldur's Gate 3, but we're not yet confident enough to announce it. We don't like announcing anything until we're ready. because we don't want to get people's hopes up until we're sure we can deliver. There's no platform exclusivity preventing us from releasing Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox day and date, should that be a technical possibility. Key word there. If and when we do announce further platforms, we want to make sure each version lives up to our standards and expectations. Thanks for the understanding. I found this to ring some alarms for people, Cog. Is this a Series S problem, perhaps, I wonder? We have a question here from Devil Moon. Hello, Dukes. I want to ask about Baldur's Gate 3. I can't seem to say that game right today. Not coming at launch to Xbox due to technical difficulties. Do you guys think the developers should have announced the game was coming just without a release date for Xbox? And do you think moving forward we are going to see more games not releasing for Xbox at launch because of similar situations? Now, Cog, you're the little man supporter here. I only have the big man. I see a lot of people pointing the finger at the Series S for these problems. Obviously, Larian has not specified, but what do you make of this technical mishap, it seems, that's preventing Baldur's Gate 3, which doesn't look like a super demanding game, not making its way to Xbox platforms? Take it away.
Yeah, this is a fun week, boy. We got a lot about this information. So obviously we had the state of play in the timeline. It comes out. You see it on the PlayStation stage. You say, okay, wait a minute. And I think the initial panic was kind of like what Xbox fans are used to, which is, the second-class citizen treatment with third-party games. Let's just call it what it is, right? And a lot of people tweeted at the dev like, yo, bro, what's going on? Where's the Xbox version? And it's like, no. And I want to give them credit. Like, Sean, I think his name is Crom on Twitter. He's like active. Cromwelp on Twitter. He's director of publishing for Larian. He's super active. He's just like, no, an Xbox version is in the works. And, he was even transparent saying, hey, it's a technical issue that's prevented, so we didn't want to announce it at this time. Because initially people thought that, this might be a marketing type situation, Final Fantasy VII Remake energy. Oh, no, we're not getting it type situation. So he jumped in front of that, which I thought was big, right? Because that kind of, in my opinion, dispels the whole, because let's be honest, if there's a deal, what generally happens is these are the only platforms willing to talk about at this time.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that energy. So I'm like, okay, cool. Xbox fans should be fine. But when now he was very honest about the technical aspect, that's when the whole the attack on Little Man started. It was like, yo, what technical issue? Why are you having technical issues? What's going on? So there were articles and things that came out and said, yo, Series S. I got to be honest. The thing that surprised me, Matty, he is on Twitter like, no, technical issue. And he says co-op specifically, right? He said co-op because he said, this is the thing. He said, we're not going to play this game that a lot of devs are doing. And this part, I do agree with him, which is if outside of Nintendo Switch, we got to be honest, like local co-op is like really not a thing anymore. I think Switch is probably the only one still holding the torch to input it in the games on a local. Usually co-op now is 100% online.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, no, with Baldur's Gate 3, we're not half-assing it. We're doing a local co-op. So apparently there's a technical issue on that now. This is where the disparity happens. Some people are like, yo, you can't tell me that the Series S ain't got nothing to do with it because it's Xbox, right? Then you got people that say, look, at the end of the day, this is not, like you said, Matty, this technically demanding game from outward appearances.
Yes.
From outward appearances. I should say that. Correction. And the people that say defend Little Man go, wait a minute. How can you say it's a Series S issue when the spec for PC that it's coming to PC is lower than Series S? Right? So that means that there's less powerful platforms that's going to run it. So that's where the other thing. The last point I want to say is that in fairness to Larian, one, this game was announced as a Stadia game first. People don't realize it was announced as a Stadia game that obviously we know what happened to Stadia. Then now let's just say PlayStation becomes the lead platform in PC. So now they're developing that. I don't have their exact studio size, maybe 200. I think Addict told me it was over 200, whatever. But you can't, in my opinion, you can't tell me that there was not a shift from dev from that to then PC. They're still working on the Xbox version. This thing is also coming to Mac, by the way, which is rare. Yes. It's coming to Mac. Yeah. So there's a lot going on here. I tend to believe the developer in this case because Matty, I'm gonna tell you right now, watch this man timeline. He is outside. Anybody talking this series ass, anybody talking about we playing exclusivity games, he's like, no. He even, him and Jez got into it a little bit. Shout out to Jez, but they closed it behind the scenes. It's all good now. But yeah, because people caught that energy, like, yo, what's going on? Why are you guys exempting or whatever? So I like the transparency. I don't get the sense there's any foul business going on. I don't get the sense of any Sony doing anything underhanded. I just get the sense that, I'm going to take his word. It's just a technical issue that they got to resolve. And the last point I'll say is that from a platform standpoint, people, one, are going to go sometimes with the lead platform first, where there's the bigger install base. We just got to be real with that. We just talked about 18.5 and 30. You know what I'm saying? And if you're a team and you got to make a choice, sometimes you're going to make the choice with that lead platform, especially if you get some type of advertising bag for debuting on a Sony state of play first, right? That's all. So there's a business to it. But I'm curious where you at with it. This was a wild week with this situation. I was following this thing pretty closely this week.
Yeah, it's really, really well done coverage there, Cog. And I'm just curious if we ever see it on the platform, because we kind of seen that. Well, now it's a little too late. But Larian's usually good. Like they brought I think Divinity Original Sin 2 to Switch very late. So they'll find a way. I feel pretty confident it'll be there, but obviously we can never say for certain. So we will see what happens there.
We will see.
Otherwise, any other thoughts on state of play, or shall we move into what games we're playing?
Yeah. I want to, because I think most people know what I was doing. But I want to switch it to you first, because you played something. And I need, there's a point of contention going on with certain games and things that dropped, and obviously you have a great list. But I am curious about one particular game that you fired up and messaged me about, and I got thoughts, and I bet you got thoughts. So let's get to it.
So ladies and gentlemen, I finally did it. I started Destiny 2. I had to see what I'm on my COG catch-up game. I want to do Destiny, I want to do Midnight Sun, and I want to do Naraka. So I'm gradually catching up with what my man's been raving about here. I wanted to start with Destiny 2 because this is your baby, and I hear too often that, like, this is the service game, right? I gotta say, man, I actually enjoyed my time. And I've only put 3 hours in, so I don't want to call anything decisively here, but pretty engaged 3 hours for the most part, man. I have my critiques. This game was a lot buggier than I thought it would be. I don't know if that's a thing at all. I'm literally talking from a point of not knowing anything, for those who don't know. Like, I haven't played Destiny since the vanilla launch of Destiny 1 in 2014. Like, it's been that long. So I don't know if it's known to be a buggy game, but like, we had a loading screen looping on end, crash. I had some mission objectives not load, like, just pretty regularly buggy, which I was very surprised by. But I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm not gonna. I played Bethesda Game Studios game. I'm not gonna lose my mind over this. Now, it's gonna sound really stupid when I say this, and it's fine. But I went, oh, wow, like, there is so much Halo energy here. It's insane. I used a scout rifle and I went, oh, this is the DMR. The music started to kick up and I just felt the Halo energy. And I went, oh, wow, I really like this. It's fun to play. I started with the Hunter class. That was the one I
Hunter.
Little gunslinger.
Okay.
The highlight of my session was the strike. The little mission you do that no respawns, that's where, because I got two of my friends on, comms were up, we were really getting into it. The boss was intense. It had some cool mechanics. There were enemies that exploded when they got close to you, so we had to get up on a hill and take them down. I was surprised how much of the content I played was from Destiny 1. But I gotta say, I was appreciative of it, because I went, well, that was one of my fears, is that I couldn't get into it. Art design is fantastic. Holy hell. Just seeing some of the distance views, whether you're in a lost city or I was in New Russia, and I was like, this is just a cool game to look at. Feels incredible to play. I love the lore. I'm very interested in that. I'm gonna call Smokehead the main enemy.
The witness,
I don't know who that is, but that is an interesting looking villain. I love how that villain looks, man. It's like insane to me, just so creative. So I liked what I played. You know, it had, of course, all the live service elements I've come to lament that have been borrowed from Destiny, but I have some respect in the sense that y'all kind of, I can't blame you for inventing the wave. Like, you started this whole thing. The menus. My big problem in adjusting was the menus within menus, the sub menus.
That's what I want to hear.
But I don't know. Other thing, a weird visual novel element in some of the quests I was turning in. Like, I would have a conversation with the character. They'd be talking to me. They'd be animated. I'd finish the quest. I'd come back and it would say, Shahan looks you up and down. And I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, I was like, what is this? Why? Where's the AAA live service energy now? Like, but it was gone in a flash. It was a very weird game, but I enjoyed my time with it. I really did. And, you know, we already planned our next session. We're going to keep playing. I want to get to the raid, right? That's what I hear everyone kind of talks about. They say there's a lot of prep that goes into it, but I want to see, because people have said, Matt, if you like the raids, you're done for. And so it's kind of scary. It's over for you. It's kind of scary. Yeah. Like, this is what everyone says, it's over for you. Like, if you get that hook in you, it's over. So I want to at least try that. I want to get to that point. I don't know how long it takes, but that's how long I'm going to put the hooks in for me for. But yeah, it was a good time. I didn't play any of the new Lightfall content, which I know you're in on, but
I'll get into it.
You know, it was those are my thoughts, man. I had enjoyed my time with it.
No, I respect that. I like fresh perspective. I guess my question for you was just, you know, me and Ebontis are very concerned, and shout out to Tiger Travis as well. We have issues with the new light experiences. So again, someone who like the systems, like, did you feel confused with the guns and I still feel they got ways to go with explaining all of these systems on the back end.
That's why I said the sub menus. There was a lot.
Yes, there's a lot. They gave me
an augment for my abilities, and look, I'd say I'm pretty quick on the uptake for most of these games, and even I was going, wait, what the hell did I? What is this thing here? So yeah, it was.
What is?
I got to say, I don't like with the Hunter the dodge ability. I'm like, this is a whack ability to have, man. I don't really like this at all. I felt so much regret when they said double tap B to use your special ability, and my guy does a 360. It's like, come on, man. I want something cool. You know, I see these videos of guys web swinging, taking out swords and stuff, and I'm just dodging. I'm like, that should be a base ability. But okay.
I feel good point on the Hunter, and I will say it is invaluable in PvP, but also where you will appreciate it if you continue is that it loops into the subclasses, which allows you consistent flow, not having to reload, and then doing what compare. It synergizes with exotics and abilities, and then you will appreciate it. But trust me, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go hunting in the beginning, because I was like, man, that's whack.
Yeah, just go. My friend's playing Warlock, and I'm seeing him pound the ground and taking out enemies. I'm like, that's cool, man. I'm just sitting here just doing circles.
But yeah, you will appreciate it. No, I was curious about that. I'll get into my. So what else you been playing?
I'll be going for a while. Why don't you go on? Because I'll be going for a while, I imagine.
So look, let's keep it consistent. You know, obviously, Nightfall has arrived. And COG, this is the day. This is where, you know, COG buckles down. You fire up the Xbox. I turn my online status on to the clan. I'm like, all right, COG's home. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, there he goes. It's about 12 people in the damn Xbox party. We all playing Destiny. It's good times. You start to see old faces and friends you haven't spoken to in a while. And this is typical expansion energy, right? And we get it. And I have to say, you know, the way it started so far was tremendous. It definitely, you know, when you start off the Lightfall campaign, when you get to it, and I would highly advise, Matty, please, if you can, do the actual legendary difficulty. Do not, because they're going to tell you to do base or legendary. Legendary
when do I choose that?
Basically, when you start the Lightfall campaign, right? You have to pick it, and then right when you pick it, it's going to say, do you want to do the base version of it, or do you want to do legendary? Do the legendary version. Let me tell you, this is classic Halo, not like Halo legendary difficulty, but not super, super crazy, but it scales. And then what's beautiful about it is that challenge. When you beat it, you like, man, we worked. We put it. And then the other thing is if you do it solo, in fairness, it scales down a little bit, but still tough.
Okay.
And if you add a second person, the same thing. So there's dynamic scaling with it. So I will say, look, initial impressions, I'm very far, probably about maybe 6 to 8 missions in. The story's interesting to me. I love the start of it. I will say I do have some nitpicks as far as I am confused with certain endgame motives about this, because I feel like Lightfall was setting up the witness is here, right? The witness is here is an attack on the Traveler. The Traveler is what, Guardians kind of seek to for their ghosts and their powers and things of that nature. And we're going into this fine line between light and the darkness and what really is good and what really is evil kind of energy, right?
Okay.
The thing that is interesting to me is now we're going to this remote location, which let me tell you right now, Neomuna is absolutely stunning. This is probably one of their better looking skyboxes that they've ever created. It's absolutely gorgeous. They really knocked it out of the park with the design team. The Cloud Striders look fantastic. They got kind of Silver Surfer, and actually, shout out to my boy Kama, Silverhawks energy. This is for my OGs who knows what Silverhawks is. They look like they straight out of Silverhawks with a little Silver Surfer energy. Very cool design. Now, I gotta be real.
Let's hear it. I've heard some complaints, so I want to hear what's the haps.
Okay. Now, coming into this, COG was very. Me and Ray Gun talked about this at the event. Like, which queen is God tier, Bungie? This is the Bungie we would like. And I would highly advise you to do Witch Queen first, to be honest with you.
I thought that's what I was supposed to do, yeah.
Yeah, please do Witch Queen.
So there's like a base game, right? Do I finish a base game story and then I can do Witch Queen? I'll be DMing you regardless, but...
Yeah, I'll hit you with the order.
Okay.
And please, you have to do it. You need to see what COG was really raving about.
No doubt.
And that's that Witch Queen. Now, the thing with Lightfall...
Okay, let's hear it.
...is... it almost doesn't feel, and I got to look at who's the narrative lead. Like, it doesn't feel like the same team. It feels, some of the dialogue is a little cringy. I'm not all the way with the Cloud Striders. I got a little issue with the Witness, and the Witness. Don't get me wrong. He's recruited Callus, who's this known enemy that we've known for a while. He's boisterous. He's very flamboyant with the riches and the gold. And, he's a very ridiculous, over-the-top character, which I'm used to. But this marriage of him making him Callus' disciple, it is not coming off to me really well. Also, I don't feel like in the opening, I felt the threat of the Witness. When he's with Callus, it's just like, okay, do my bidding, go stop them. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. Outside of a scene here and there, some of the emotional beats are not hitting for me. I'm just like, I'm just going to be real. Right now, this feels like an intermission to, Avengers, Endgame.
Okay.
This feels like an intermission. This doesn't feel like all the way that the Cataclysm is starting. It's beginning, but I just feel that. And then, I'm just going to be honest. I'm not really feeling some of the dialogue right now. So I want to know where it goes, in fairness. And the last thing I will say, though, what they did fantastic. Look, the gunplay is extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? The skybox is extraordinary. The game is amazing. It's fun to play. Strand is a new power. At first, I was lukewarm. I'll be honest. At first, I was like,
you weren't feeling the web swinging? Oh.
I was like, because what if the game keeps teasing you? And they be like, yo, you can use it now, but then we're going to take it back. You can use it now, but you're going to take it back. They keep doing this tease, and I'm like, bro, my blue balls in here. Like, let me use the power. Like, come on. So that was getting on my nerves. They're trying to show you this thing. You got to control it. Okay, fine. Now, there's a board where I'm at right now where you are forced to use it, right? And you see the beauty of it. You see the Insomniac energy, the swinging, and then what makes it hot is the swinging into a melee. I didn't know about the melee swinging. So
the finishers in this game are awesome, by the way.
Oh, you could be impactful. And then you got the strand thing, and then you throw down the Warlock, throw these things down. And you got these little minions. The Titan has this thing where you hang people up, like you stringing them up, like always. The Titan is, and the Hunter with, like, I'm gonna tell you right now. Strand, once you understand
so these layer on to the existing classes. So I thought this was like a new. Okay,
no, it's a new class. It's a new class where you just are doing that. But the beauty of it is the movement, the locomotion, to get the escapability, to get away. And then you can lasso onto an enemy and then zoom in, bang, punch them, do other abilities. The supers are really creative. Like, I'm starting to get the flow. It was a little confusing at first, and at first I thought I was a little underwhelmed. But there's a stage where they force you to use it, and you learn the flow, and you're like, okay,
Got it.
I got it. So that's it. So what I will say is the jury's still out till I finish the campaign. I want to know where this narrative goes. Because right now I'm like, it's a little too confusing and spacey, magic-y. That's not really making a lot of sense yet. And the last thing is where it ultimately is what you said, the raid. Usually the raid reveals the real threat or something else going on in the narrative. I need to know what's going to happen. And if the raid is good, that will raise the score. But as far as the campaign, I'm not finished yet, but I'm not. It's not much.
Yeah.
It's not much.
I've heard some mixed things about it, especially the length. Yeah. I saw some people beat it in like one day, which is I don't know if that's a common thing for Destiny. I mean, I don't expect them to put in dozens and dozens of hours of content for each drop, but that was something I had also read online that some people were already done.
Yeah, there's the campaign, and then there's the seasonal content. Again, highly advised. If you do it on regular difficulty, you're gonna blaze through it. There's no, it's just easy. It's just easy. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Everyone plays on Legendary. I would highly advise you. I would tell you right now, it's one of the best experiences.
Got it.
So you got that. So I've been doing that. Got a competing VR device.
Yes, let's hear it.
Yes, I got a PSVR. You know what I'm saying? And I had to try Cog's favorite.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? DBO, see what's going on over there. Fantastic job. Fantastic port. Looks absolutely phenomenal on that. And for my non-VR users, you can play a Demio pancake version. It has the option as soon as you load it up. You want to play it on PlayStation 5 regular or PSVR 2? I played the PlayStation 5 version. Fantastic port. Looks nice. I got front on an OLED. I ain't played Demio on an OLED. I was like, okay, console, let's go. Xbox, you need to get on the phone.
Yeah.
You need to get on. You need
Game
to get
Game Pass. They're going to be, put there.
I'm Pro Resolution Games. They need this, and I love to see them there. So salute to them. Fantastic port. And then the last thing, of course, Mid-Sun.
Yes. Wasn't going to say
it. That's not mid, but Midnight Suns, man. Bro, yeah, Venom DLC came out. I have to admit, Deadpool DLC story so far was better. And there's short little story missions, maybe about 3 or 4 quick missions you get in, but it explains how they come into their fold, what they're here for, motivations, that whole bit. But Venom is fire. Venom is a way better character. And then what I love about the Venom card deck is that, everything goes off of this, it's called like a satiability or like a hunger. Ravenous. It's called a Ravenous. So what happens is, in order for Venom to stay powerful, he has to still continue to kill and eat or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And to keep his power levels up. He is great for AoE. He's great for binding heroes down, keeping them locked in place. The symbiote powers are crazy. He's a fun character. And then when you go back to the Abbey, he's, as Eddie Brock, and you start to learn more about him and his relationship with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man has some good cutscenes with him and stuff like that. So look, good Marvel, geek energy, short little achievements are working for Venom.
I
don't know about the Deadpool stuff, but the achievements are working for Venom. 2K, let's get that together with the Deadpool. So that's pretty much what it's been for me.
Nice. Fun week for you. Fun week for me as well. I'll start off with the one I already have my review out for. And by the time this episode goes live, my review for the other one will be out. I wanted to start off with Octopath Traveler 2.
Let's go.
Xbox fans, I am sorry. I really wish they didn't miss out on this one because this has the makings of like one of the very best. I wish I was exaggerating. I wish I was stretching. I'm not surprised because I love the first Octopath, so you can account for any inherent bias. I just love that art style. I love the approach. But the first Octopath was very flawed. Make no mistake. This feels like across the board the perfect answer to every complaint the game had. The characters and the party are interacting more. The stories are deeper, darker, not a single whack party member. The combat is so deep, man, because of all the job systems and customization you have. The path actions, there are so many. For those who don't remember path actions from the first Octopath, every character had a thing they could do in the world. Like the thief could steal. And that's still true here. But now the thief at night can ambush someone. The thief in combat can also have this set of buffs that activate at night during combat. The amount of effort that's gone into Octopath 2 is staggering, truly, especially for the type of game it is. Like, pixel art games are still very popular. They still sell tremendously well. But the amount of effort that they put into this is insane to me, because it's not like you put in a dynamic day-night system and call it a day. For pixel art games, it's vastly different. And with Octopath, for every character that's outfit changes, they need to create a whole new spreadsheet. For Octopath, for every time the day and night cycle changes, they need to have a map representing that. They don't just let it change. You have to fully detail out every map for every point in the day. It's just, again, a staggering, unfathomable level of effort here. And they've nailed it across the board. They've nailed it. Again, the stories are interesting. They're much darker this time around. So I'm very invested in all the characters. For those who are playing, my favorites right now are Casti and Oswald. Just one is a story about a guy who's been accused of murdering his own family. And he was actually, you start off his story in a prison because he was incriminated. And then the other one is about an apothecary who on the other continent, which you can explore in this game, has said to be a part of this group that may be responsible for poisoning people, but walking around as an apothecary who would heal people. So yeah, very dark, Cog, very dark storytelling. And it's such an opposite to, say, Tressa in Octopath 1, just like, I want to be a merchant. None of that here. Like Primrose was the only, in my opinion, truly dark story in the first one. But this one, it's all dark, it's all brooding, it's all interesting. Most importantly, the exploration, dude, this is borderline an open world game. You get the boat and you can explore the vast sea. You can explore each of the continents and the areas in between. You can go off the beaten trail and find caves to explore. You could tell they spent the first game just figuring out the tech for Octopath. Like, what is this going to be? How do we do cutscenes? How do we do lighting? How do we do levels? How do we do fighting? Now that they know that, they just built and built and built and built, and they made something spectacular. Octopath 2.
Wow.
I mean, like, dude, I will say it is crawling above Dead Space right now, which I didn't expect. I was thoroughly in love with everything Dead Space, and I was very convinced, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like Octopath, but I'm sure it'll come with its drawbacks. Like, there's no way Dead Space is gonna get knocked off by anybody. I'm telling y'all right now, if you appreciate JRPGs, you gotta look at Octopath. I've been playing on my PS5. This shit is so good. I'm very, very surprised, honestly, you know, when I really think about it, because I knew I would like it because I just love what Octopath stands for. 8 individual stories, the art style. To me, it's just a stance against every conventional way of doing video games. And the fact that it succeeded and now they come back again and they've done everything better and responded to feedback, just hats off, man. They did a fantastic job, and I truly wish Xbox fans could experience it. It's like that Persona love right now. Like that, if people need a scale, that's what I'm feeling. So think about that. How I was always like, man, you got to bring Persona to Game Pass. You're going to start to hear me beating this war drum. Octopath needs to come to Xbox. People need to see this game. It is special. It's very good.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. There for you to even say that over Dead Space, and I know how much you love Dead Space. And I want to shout out my LordsOfGaming.net brother Flame. Like he goes hard for Octopath too. So yeah, that's impressive to hear that it's.
I was talking to Attic. He's like, "How is it?" Like, I really love the first one. I was like, "Dude, you love the first one. You are going to be blown away by the second one. Just the sense of openness, the freedom of exploration." It has almost a BGS energy. Like, you can just go. It's linear, don't get me wrong, but you can go anywhere in these zones pretty much. And especially when you get your boat, it just opens up entirely. And the path actions, the way you solve quests. Like, when I did my review on Retro Rebound, I had literally just 2 complaints. It's just, number one, I do wish to some extent there was more party interaction. There's still a lot there. They have them talking after every major story beat. They have them doing stories together, like they call them cross tales, which I thought was cool. And I think my other complaint was, I can't even fucking remember. Like, it's just such a good game. I don't even know, man. Like, it's just they nailed it. They nailed it.
Where do you have it in another point of contention?
Yeah.
You know, is people the triangle strategy gang is out here.
Mm.
Like, where you at with them versus the triangle strategy?
I have to say that I thought Triangle Strategy 1 was a better story than Octopath 1. And I would go back and forth on the two, but I think I leaned in Triangle Strategy's favor just because I think it took lessons learned from Octopath and said, like, okay, let's apply them here. To me, this is just the next step forward. Like, it's the top dog now. They've addressed all the complaints from Octopath. They took lessons learned from Triangle Strategy. They applied them here too. The game, because like Triangle Strategy, one thing it does is it plays more with 3D. Like, it'll rotate its camera entirely around the field, which is impressive for a pixel art game. And so here in Octopath, like when you do a full boost and you power up your attack all the way and you call on that spell, you hear a little whoosh sound effect and you see the camera twist and then it rotates again. It's just so much more cinematic. The cutscenes here are great because they, again, for everything a character does, that's a drawing, and that's difficult to do, especially when you ramp up the things that each character can do. They change the weapons you have in your hand. Typically in pixel art games, you have a set weapon. In this game, it's like you equipped a new weapon. That sword is now like blue. Maybe there's a glow to it.
Wow. Oh, we got the visual representation.
Like the visual representation. Very rare in pixel art games.
That's rare.
You already saw in Octopath 1 with like you change your job and the outfit would change. That was already a tremendous level of effort. But like now they're even doing it with the weapons. There are characters in cutscenes that you'll see them smoke. They'll spit. Just very lifelike despite the art style. It's a really fun mix that's so different from what we typically get. So I have been adoring Octopath 2. I promised myself I wouldn't go on too long because I was like, okay, we're 2 hours into the show, but like
you cooking, but that's
so good. Speaking of good games, this one is on Xbox. This one is on Game Pass. Wolong Fallen Dynasty has arrived. The Team Ninja partnership is here, and I think this game is also fantastic. Don't love it as much as Octopath.
Okay.
It's kind of got a little Neo 1 energy, Cog. I don't know. Do you know what I mean when I say Neo 1 energy?
What was the flaws from Neo 1 versus 2 that you
1 felt like they were figuring it out a little bit, right? They were trying some stuff out. Some bosses felt really good. Some didn't. You know, in Neo 1, you had the set main character. You don't have that in Wolong, but in Neo 2, you can create your character. There were things set in place that you went, this could be better. And in the second go around, like I think Neo 2 is one of, if not the best Souls-like. I think Neo 2 is fantastic. So, Wolong rolls around. Our first true competitor to Sekiro. Some concerns on the tech end. I just want to start off with that. For those who are downloading on Game Pass, you should be aware I had some hitches in cutscenes pretty often. Like the game would almost stall and then keep going. That happened pretty often. Frame drops an occasion during boss fights. I was very unimpressed by that occurring because I don't know why or how it's happening. But when there were big enemies, because I say that because Team Ninja games in general typically don't look incredible. And Wolong is in that same boat. Like its visuals are pretty unimpressive. So to see it struggling, I was kind of annoyed by it because I'm like, really, guys, really? But yeah, when it gets a little busy with particle effects and big creatures and a lot of movement, especially if you have 2 sets of reinforcements in, it'll drop frames on occasion. And Xbox fans should be aware of that because the alpha trial version of Wolong was pretty bad on Xbox. For a lot of people, it wasn't even starting up. So the technical woes continue into the full release. And again, you should be aware of that. But Wolong otherwise is really, really good. If you're like me and you bounced off of Sekiro, which I didn't dislike Sekiro, I just learned through that game I really love the RPG mechanics that FromSoft has built because they do an excellent job at making my build matter. Like you can mess up the stats. And I love that kind of risk reward of like, am I going too hard? Am I getting diminishing returns here? It demands you pay attention to your build. And so you get access to different armor, different weapons, and certain things are useful at certain points in the game. So you may breeze through certain sections that others struggle with and so on and so forth. So that build responsiveness is everything. Sekiro is more of a skill game. I beat Genichiro, which is one of the tougher starter bosses. And I just said, nah, like I'm not feeling this. And I know some people think that's sacrilege, but I just wasn't. I thought it would be for me, but I never clicked with Sekiro. And I learned through that, I said, I want those RPG mechanics. For those who are like me, Wolong is your answer. It still has that elegance of Sekiro in some fights, where it also has the RPG mechanics that you've come to know and love from Neo, the loot that you've come to know and love from Neo. And so for me, it's that beautiful hybrid, seeing it all come together. There are moments, though, that, again, that Neo 1 energy permeates the experience, particularly big creature boss fights. When you're one-on-one, Cog, or one-on-two with some of the Chinese history's best warriors, they got their spear, their dual swords in hands, and you're pulling up and you're deflecting and just doing a dance around them. Wow. It feels good. But when you're fighting these big bosses that are kind of showpieces and they're uninspiring, boring, and easy to beat, I gotta say, I felt a little annoyance. I'm like, man, y'all copped out on this one for sure. Like, because there were some bosses here that, even accessibility arguments be damned, were like super, super, super easy. And that is music to a lot of people's ears, for sure. So here's the good news for those who are looking to get into Wolong. This is a game that will beat the life out of you, no doubt, when you do that first boss. After boss 1, co-op's unlocked for the rest of the game. Whole game, full co-op. And that's awesome. And if you don't have a friend, for most of the missions, they give you up to 2 AI companions to join you. And these are like Guan Yu, for example, Sun Sun, or Cao Cao, sorry, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you get backup, and they will draw aggro. They'll take the pressure off of you. They'll attack with you. Sometimes the AI breaks a little bit, but most times it's doing fine. But this is definitely that kind of hybrid of, it's difficult. It will beat the hell out of you. And there are some boss fights where you probably don't even want reinforcements, but it's accessible enough where I think it can get a lot of people through the door, because you can play with your friends, you can play with the AI. And I think that'll be good for people like you, Cog, who are like, yeah, I want that co-op. Like, y'all are fronting with co-op. No, bro. Like, you start up the game, they say co-op's unlocked, online lobby tab here, invite your friends. It's no playing games, summon symbols on the ground. None of that. You were just starting it up.
Ouija board on the ground, no bloody finger.
No, none of that. None of that. You were just inviting your friends in, come play with me. You don't got to beat the mission first. So it feels really good to play. Like when you're deflecting and you're knocking down their spirit gauge and you open them up for a fatal strike, much like Sekiro when you whittle down their stamina gauge and you open them up for that like deadly attack. I mean, it feels so good, man. It feels so good. That same level of satisfaction is here, but more accessible, more easy, more inconsistent though. Sekiro, for all I had to say that I was like, nah, it's not really clicking with me. That game's goddamn consistent. No doubt about it. Wolong, little up and down. But that was much of the story for Neo 1. Neo 2 rolled around. They were like, gloves off. We learned our lesson and they popped off. So if Wolong can earn itself a sequel, which I think it definitely has, we'll see how the sales go and whatnot. Keep an eye out for that one. But Wolong is definitely a way better first attempt than Neo was by a country mile. But I definitely had a couple of issues with it, especially with some of its bosses. Some of its bosses were, oh, that was it, or I really didn't try there. Good news for others, by the way. And I'm not trying to sound like a sweat or anything like that. I swear on my life, like I'm really not. But there will be some underwhelming. For those looking for a challenge, you will be a little underwhelmed.
We got other games for y'all.
Yeah.
Other games.
No, exactly. No, that's hey, look, when I did my review, I gave it hey, buy it at full price. It's excellent. I just warned people. I said, hey, it could be a little easy at times, which isn't a bad thing. You got to understand what the game's for. But hey, don't be wiping that sweat off your head. There's one boss in particular. He's tough.
Yeah, I know.
He's a
tough.
Oh, Addict told you? Yeah. We were talking about
I know. Yeah. I know so much. I've been researching the history of the name.
Oh, yeah. It's very
very
fitting. As someone who's played a lot of Dynasty Warriors, this was the most intimidating character in the game. I was like, it makes sense. He's going to kick my ass. Yep.
Yeah, I was told you going to know this name. Oh, you going to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's definitely one boss in this game that's going to be talked about. Best boss in the game as far as I'm concerned, man. But yeah, Wolong's fantastic. Another great addition to Game Pass day one. Very positive on it. If you're listening to this, go try it out. I think you'll enjoy it a lot.
No doubt.
Whew, we still got a lot of this show to go. Let's keep rolling.
Let's go.
All right, Fuzzy Bear writes in, hey, Dukes, Matty, you were sorely missed during the Last Stand Media live show, but props to you for prioritizing your health and well-being. Appreciate that. Thank you, Fuzzy. I must know, what game would you have picked for the most overrated game of all time? Also, shout out to Cog for his legendary pick and being an incredible presence. Hashtag overrated DD.
Shout out Fuzzy Bear. Salute,
Yeah,
brother.
thank you, Fuzzy. Appreciate you. And I think everyone could have guessed the pick I was toying around with.
What was doing?
Are you really? You don't know?
No.
It's Deathloop, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This was my opportunity to crusade to the LSM, to the masses, because I knew the video was going to, like it did with the first event, was going to pop off. This was my opportunity to to plant the flag and say, let's start a movement together. I had a whole plan. I was actually going to go through what I was in the process of doing before this. I was going through Dishonored and Prey. I was counting rooms. I was counting interactables. I was doing the math. I was getting it all ready to systematically dismantle the Deathloop crowd and really put together a mixture of, as I always like to do, a little bit of humor with those presentations just to keep it light and airy, but also to get a little Colin energy in, because Colin inspired me after the first event. Like, he comes in, he's like, by default, Super Mario is the very best video game of all time. I'm like, all right, bro, okay. He's got the fucking book there and everything. I'm like, okay, Colin. But the point being is I was going to take a little page out of that book and make it the hard to argue presentation. Like, wow, that really is the overrated game. So that's what I was going to go for. With Deathloop. That was my pick. I had a couple others that I was messing with. I heard, according to Ben, I was one of the more modern picks compared to everyone else who was picking some older stuff. But for me, this was a tough one for me, because that was the game that right away I was like, I got one right away. And I just knew it was Deathloop. But then I kept thinking, because then Ben put that thought in my head. I was thinking, like, there's some Dragon Ball games I could think of. I'm like, but I feel like passionate about that. Could I go?
Yeah, you got to go with your passion.
I had to go with Deathloop. So yeah, that's what I was gonna rock with. I was gonna come out with the Deathloop slander. I was gonna wear like a Dishonored tee and everything. Like, I was gonna really show out, because I was taking notes from everyone's presentation for the first one. Like when Cog stood up and he took his shirt off, and there he was wearing the N7 for the very best game of all time and Mass Effect 2. I was like, yeah, I love that energy, like dressed for the occasion type beat. I love that.
No question. That's dope. On brand, it would have been perfect. I totally could have seen you doing that and absolutely knocking out.
I just want to look over my shoulder and smirked at you real quick before I started.
I already know. Oh man, that's the part we did miss out on that, because I know you'd have killed that.
Yeah, I'm upset because like my last one was like very humor filled, but like this one I had like good jokes prepared for everyone in the group. I actually had like a pretty good game plan, so I'm gonna hold some stuff close to the vest in case I can retool those jokes for other presentations we may or may not do. Who knows? But
we'll see.
That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna lean into Deathloop a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right, Nicholas Brillhart is up next. Greetings, Dukes. With 4 months left for Starfield to come out in the first half of 2023, how long do you think they can possibly hold out on its developer? Pardon me, Direct. Rumors suggested we'd hear something this week, but it's all quiet. Now, we want to touch this one a little bit, but as is the defining Duke curse, there is the possibility, as I speak about this, we do have some type of announcement, because it is reportedly, according to Andy Robinson of VGC, been imminent. The announcement of the showcase, and then Jez has been floating around, teasing a little bit, like, you're not going to have to wait too long. So we're hearing that something's happening soon. Hopefully the defining Duke curse doesn't plague us into our next recording. Xbox typically likes their announcements on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That is come and gone, so I feel a little bit safe, but I'm saying all this now, possibly hurting myself in the future. So, Cog, right now we're going to do a quick bite-sized take in this little pocket of history here. 4 months left for Starfield to come out in the first half, really 3 now. How long do you think they can possibly hold out on the developer direct? Time is ticking as we have now entered March.
We have now entered March, yes. So, this is the first week. So, I would think if it's not this week, next week. If we don't see it next week, that's when I get concerned. Like, okay, when are you going to talk about this, right? Because you got to set the tone, set the expectation, give people a heads up of when it's coming. You got to give them a little window, like next week or this date, developer direct, Starfield. So yeah, I would assume, we break the curse, and if it's not this week, hopefully we catch, next week, and there's an announcement. But that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm with you. The time is ticking. Again, this is for the first half type of announcement. If they're to release, if they're to release it later, they can take however long they need to. But
correct.
If they're looking to release this by the end of June, I mean, I'm going to say, yeah, right there with you. I would honestly be somewhat concerned this week. That was to me the kind of statement I was thinking is I thought this was the do or die week. Started off because you announce it in the first week of March, and you probably want to have it by the second, third week of March, the showcase. Otherwise, now we're pushing it even deeper. You have to imagine when they do announce this, they need to have the release date attached to it. But time is ticking, no doubt.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The Dukes have had the energy the whole time. Take as long as you need. But I do think an update is needed sooner rather than later. And if we get to mid-March and we hear nothing, that's when the true urgent type of concern is going to kick in. Like, I'm not feeling that first half release anymore. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, any day now. It really feels like that. Yeah. I won't lie. I don't know if you've been doing the same. I get up, I check my phone right away. I'm like, let me see if anyone messaged me and hit me up with the beats. Because usually, like, when news drops, I'm fortunate enough that, like, I'm getting tagged or I'll see, like, the update on my phone right away. And when I open it up and I just see text messages, I'm like, damn it, man. I was like, oh, today would be the day.
Yeah. We get close to that excitement energy. If it is to happen in the first half, we expect that if it is, this is the month. So hopefully within, like I said, a couple of days or next week.
Yeah. So we'll see. And of course, when it happens, we'll talk about it. For now,
yes,
we move on to another hot topic in the Xbox community. Lucius Augustus writes, hello, Dukes. The past few weeks have been very messy for games media surrounding the Activision Blizzard coverage. Gaming journalists are being told off by C-level executives and intellectual property analysts alike. And it all seems to be for similar things, either blatantly misrepresenting the truth in their articles or not properly labeling those articles as opinion pieces and presenting their feelings as facts. GamesIndustry.biz had to update an article multiple times going after the CCO of ABK for a meme. People at VGC locked their account after comparing Xbox fans to January 6th insurrectionists. IGN posted a bunch of articles explaining the ABK situation, but one of the key lawyers they received all their information from works for Google, who is obviously a conflict of interest. Honestly, none of this looks good, and to top all of it off, more people from VGC are claiming the Xbox division and Microsoft will be sold off if the ABK deal doesn't go through. Where's the evidence for any of this, you may ask? Nowhere to be found. How long do we have to question our own eyes? How long are we supposed to be told there's no media bias against Xbox and its fans? I see 4 lights. I leave you with a quote from Florian Mueller, an intellectual property analyst, who for the first time interacted with a gaming journalist and stated, quote, after some of the discussions here, I can't help but suspect that Sony tells games industry journalists about competition law standards from an alternate universe, end quote. I hope you gentlemen have a stuck in a Cardassian prison being asked how many lights you see kind of day.
Lucius. Ooh, he outside. Wow.
This is a big one, though. The big talk, man, I've been seeing is Xbox is shutting down if the ABK deal doesn't go through. I got thoughts, but Cog, I really want to get your take on what's been going on. We saw Lulu was getting attacked, and Lulu's been outside. We invited her on DDU, by the way. I shot her a message. Want to see if she wants to take us up on it. So, Lulu, if you're listening, you're always welcome. Floor is yours. But, Cog, what do you make of what's going on here with the coverage of the ABK deal? And, of course, now Xbox may be disappearing.
Let's start with the first part. Shout out to Lucius. Look, the discussion about media bias is never going to go away. And I've had, I've got good friends of mine who I've had discussions with, and this is a very point of contention. You know what I'm saying? And I remember, one good friend of mine that this was something he would say, then Bravo, I'm gonna shout you out because, I talk to you sometimes. So, he would say, I don't think it exists, but I think he's come around on it. Look, this is where I'm at. At the end of the day, there are human beings in these positions, and they have biases just like anybody else. I have biases. I have inherent biases. It is. The job of journalism is to try to put that to the side, despite your personal feelings, right? And try to deliver the news as best as you can, as objectively as you can, unless you put there, hey, opinion. Xbox, right? I don't think. And I have to be honest, like Xbox One first put themselves in this position by losing the generation they weren't supposed to lose, which I feel is the Xbox One era generation. However, I gotta be real. I do feel there is a certain subset of people who don't want this deal to happen for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you see that seep into the work, right? You see that seep into, and what I got to give Lucius credit. I was shocked the last couple of weeks of how many stories that were put out by respected journalists that were then having to be corrected, updated, and edited because some of the personal bias is seeping in. And look, I get it. We're all tired of this damn deal, right? I've got my feelings. Everyone's got their feelings. We get it. You know what I'm saying? It's exhausting, and but at the same time, it's a pivotal point in game history. Whatever happens here, this is pivotal, right? So I get it. But the thing is, from the Xbox fan perspective, I got to be honest, and I normally don't do this. Like, I do feel there is a strong subset that does not want this deal to happen, that doesn't want Xbox to succeed, right? And it's seeping into the work. It's like, fam, just say what's happening, and that's it. Now, if we ask you, do you personally as a journalist want this? Why do you want? And you want to give your opinion? Great. And that's my first part. So as far as the the second part is what you were saying about the going away. Look, who's to know for sure, right? I mean, I can't sit there and definitively say there is no way Xbox goes away if they, the deal gets blocked. And now, look, it's still Microsoft at the end of the day. Xbox is a smaller part of the bigger cog that is Microsoft, right? Microsoft has walked away from things in the past. You know what I'm saying? They've killed things in the past. I'm not going to say that is out of the realm, of possibility, but I will say, look, they're in a stronger position than they were before. And that's partly due to Phil Spencer. I know people don't like hearing this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't like giving him credit for anything. A lot of people say he lies and all this other stuff. But look, we got to be real what the facts are. The facts are he is on the board now. Microsoft Gaming is part of the board. And all executives care is if you can make money and revenue and show value to the business, right? So my assumption, this is Cog's guess at this stage, that if it was to be blocked, that they would still most likely exist and they would just have to shift. And Phil's made some recent statements about this, which I thought was interesting. I didn't think he would address it, and reference that it's not a dire situation. But again, this is just my opinion. I will say in defense of the people who are putting these articles out, yes, we cannot guarantee the future. And yes, who knows if the landscape truly changes if the deal gets blocked. I know, Matty, you've put out this alternate reality, like, okay, what happens in relationships like that? So that's pretty much what I got to get. But I did want to state the bias part because, I do feel I was a little disappointed the last 2 weeks for the first time. And I normally stay out of that stuff, man. I don't get into that.
That's usually my job.
You usually be the one that lean into it, be like, nah, that was some and you'll call them out like that was garbage, right? What this person wrote or whatever. But I have to admit, it was really disappointing to see some high level people I respect and just you see the personal things seep into the journalism. And I saw things thrown out about, I hate to get political, but Trumpism and this fan base is this. And like, once we get into that bag of attacking a fan base, I don't care if it's Xbox, like all PlayStation fans, like I don't get into that disrespectful bag just because you don't like one platform. Bro, everyone's got their favorite platform. I get it, but just state the news and move forward. If we ask for your opinion, then give it. If not, just tell the damn news. That's just where I'm at with it, but it's just this thing is bringing out the ugliness in people, and that's the part that's unfortunate that I don't like seeing. So hopefully that's another reason why I want it over.
Yeah, there's a lot of assuming happening in some of the reporting too. And look, I'm not going to act like I'm a 100% bulletproof source for any of the takes here on this deal. I think everyone's learning together, and I do think some leeway can be given to everyone, but after a certain point when it's almost a concerted effort, it starts to get a little suspicious. To me, my attention was mostly grabbed by the whole Xbox is shutting down if it doesn't get the Activision deal done. I don't know what reality that actually happens in. Of course, anything is truly possible. So I'm not going to wall off that potential. But that time to me, and what we've learned was the Xbox One. Like that was the time you go, we're walking away. This business is a failure. Phil steps in. Here's Game Pass. Game Pass is thriving. It's helping the platform survive. You've pushed an estimated 18 million units through strictly that. Most platforms would be dead in the water if you didn't have exclusives in a whole calendar year, and you somehow managed to stay selling consoles despite all that and grow in regions like Japan, where you're now starting to get on track with 360 numbers there. Something's working. The numbers are in their favor. Are they perfect? No, but they're figuring things out. And as they continue to invest in things like ID at Xbox, Game Pass, Developer Direct, all these signs point to Microsoft as a whole investing more in gaming. These things don't just happen, but the Xbox division is stronger than it's been in a long, long while. Of course, there's always the possibility, like it was unfathomable that Sega would drop out of the console business. Again, anything can truly happen, truly. But I find that to be a really tough idea to swallow. I can't wrap my head around, you didn't get Activision, so you're done. What about Bethesda that you just spent $8 billion on almost? What about every other company that you could go and buy with the money you now have after the termination fee, with that money that was going to be spent on Activision Blizzard? That just goes away? We're just going to pocket that now? You were about to invest almost $69 billion in the business, and now you're going to tell me because that didn't go through that it's over? Like they're going to shut them down? And the fact that no one put a name to this, right? This came through Andy Robinson. He said, like, I've heard multiple pundits say this. Those pundits are out of touch as far as I'm concerned. That sounds like an uneducated bad take. And if it ends up being true, I'll put my foot in my mouth because I don't mind if I'm incorrect, and I'll happily learn from the situation. But I feel pretty confident saying Xbox isn't going anywhere soon. Down the stretch, who knows? I don't think either PlayStation or Xbox are at threat. I don't think there's any existentialism creeping into their business. I think they're both doing extremely well, and that's what we want. Nintendo, of course, will survive to the end of times, so we don't have to worry about that. But that was the one that grabbed me. Because I can only act so surprised at times, and there will be moments I will get incensed, but I can only act so surprised when journalists are just irresponsible. YouTubers are irresponsible at times as well. But I can only pretend to be so surprised when ego gets involved in their reporting. I can only be so surprised. But to me, that claim, I mean, that's pretty bold to say. Like, yeah, they might shut down, not just like a part of a division or eliminate teams. Xbox goes away. That's pretty serious. And it's like, no wonder no one's putting their name to it, because it sounds like a bunch of malarkey as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting to me too is that, you know what I'm noticing now, these outlets or these, individuals, you're seeing the constant updates and corrections to these articles that come out afterwards, because now what's happening is the reader has become so much smarter and have more information resource to challenge these kind of luminaries. Because before, they were like luminaries that would go unchallenged in our space. And I think that's what we're starting to see, that we're seeing the human element, unfortunately, that, look, we got to call it what it is. There are some fanboys in position. Yeah. We just got to call it what it is. And again, I'm never claiming to be some neutral person that doesn't have a bias. Of course, we all do. It's just from a professionalism standpoint to be able to separate that and say what you got to say, and that's it. And that's the part we're starting to see the shift. And I was surprised. Yep, I'm with you on that. I was very surprised to see these kind of comments really come out. It's the deal. It's this deal, man. It's going on. And it's really weighing on the entire industry, I feel.
It's funny because everyone's just waiting for the hat to drop, and it's probably going to be a while. But again, the idea that Xbox is disappearing, I mean, what do you think about that? Because to me, just the idea that they're about to invest $68 billion in, and that if that fails, that's it. Like, does that make any sense to you?
No,
I feel very passionate about the idea that's not happening. But
no,
guess what you feel.
I'm with you. I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't have the crystal ball, but if you're asking me as of right now, the deal gets blocked. I personally don't see them saying, okay, that's it. We're out. This gaming thing is not working. We tried, y'all. Peace. love, peace, and hair grease. Like, I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me where I'm at right now. Not that it's impossible, but I just feel if you look at it strategically, I mean, let's be honest. Some of the counterpoint arguments are like, they should use this 66 million and, invest on what they already currently have. And, there's no need for them to buy Call of Duty. So can't that theoretically still happen if the deal gets blocked, right? Also, there's other smaller things that they can do from, we talked about the Asobos, certain affinities, Sega on a smaller level or whatever. There's other things they can do. The reason why I don't see it is because, again, Satya, to me, has empowered Phil to show that there's a commitment to gaming. When Satya Nadella is out there wearing the Xbox shirts and showing, that means Phil has convinced them that this is where we need to be. There is revenue here. And to me, that all ties back into Game Pass. That's his greatest achievement under the regime. And Game Pass, they see the long tail. They're willing to do the short-term investment to get the long tail. That's it. So yes, is Activision Blizzard a huge part of supercharging that tail to get to where you want to go fast? Absolutely. Absolutely. So it may hinder Game Pass's supercharged growth short term that they wanted, but I don't necessarily see them saying, okay, now that didn't happen, we're out the game kind of situation.
Yeah.
I personally.
Another thing that you got to consider is when this deal was announced, there was a big change in the Xbox management and how they label themselves. Microsoft Gaming, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer. I just feel like there's too many signs that indicate Xbox is at the same table as all the other big businesses within Microsoft. I don't think it's another play toy situation like it is with Skype or something. Of course, they got to earn their way onto the financial report, but since the ceiling is so high for Xbox, that's why they're investing this much into it. I mean, I just feel like it spells itself out where I almost feel foolish talking about it. Like you, do I have that crystal ball? No. Could anything happen? Yes. But I feel if I were to put money down on this and actually bet, I would have no problem betting. Yeah, Microsoft is probably going to hang on to Xbox for a long time because, it's different now if we had that period, if we didn't have a period of like doom and gloom, dead generation, beat to a pulp, nothing left, nothing to really offer for the most part. I mean, they survived that, and you come out the gate, and this is their last chance, if you will. Like, they have to make a mark, and I think they are. I think when you look at Game Pass passing 25 million subscribers, an estimated 18 million units sold, if that's correct data, they're trending in the right direction. They're growing. They're getting indies. They're getting the big AAA. Like, they're doing all this without delivering on the AAA stuff yet. We'll see where it ends up at that point, but I don't think there's a sign that this is going to suddenly disappear and shut down.
Yeah. Last point, and you said it so well, was that where this statement would have really held weight is the Xbox One era. Because at that point, the commitment to gaming was in question. The moves were in question. The focus was television and all this other stuff. It wasn't gaming. It was this multimedia platform. They were way too ahead. And then we've heard the names, the Don and Terry and certain people who said, from what we hear internally, why are we investing in Xbox? What is this doing for us? Why are we still in this? This is not a money-making kind of thing. Then obviously the Phil Spencer era starts. We get the Game Pass announcements, and then we start to see the shift from power, from a hardware standpoint to software to the Game Pass standpoint, and then that's when we get to the board. Once you're on the board, this is my last point. Once you're on the board, that is significant. You are not some sideshow thing we do. That means we consider you an integral part to our long-term vision. Yeah. And that's why I don't see it in the short term. That's where I'm at as of this recording.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It doesn't seem sensible, quite frankly, with the investment they're ready to make. And if that money, even if you took half of what they were about to spend on Activision Blizzard and you said, okay, we're going to pocket all this, you take the rest, because we don't trust you now, if that ended up being the outcome. It's like they could still go and make a heavy splash with half of that. So we'll see where they go, but I don't think they're going anywhere.
And one final little point is they've even said that they still will, let's say it get blocked, they still will. We've heard they're willing to go to the Supreme Court and still, like, it's not over.
They said they're going to buy after this anyway, so.
Yeah. So
I just feel like everyone across the board, top level, and down has kind of been stating the same thing.
Yeah.
And it does make you wonder where the information comes from and like who is saying this stuff and what their personal bias is. But there's no doubt it's definitely monopolized the conversation.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the rest of the news here. We were hoping number one would be a Starfield, but unfortunately, it is. Shinji Mikami leaving Tango Gameworks. An internal email from Bethesda SVP Todd Vaughn, which was also released by TrueAchievements.com and then confirmed by Bethesda, has stated that Tango will continue to support Ghostwire Tokyo and Hi-Fi Rush. However, this email also noted that Hi-Fi Rush is one of Bethesda's and Xbox's most successful launches in recent years, as we've now learned with 2 million players, and has generated significant positive momentum for the business and Tango. Shinji Mikami's career spans 33 years working on games like Resident Evil 1 through 4, Dino Crisis Vanquish, and The Evil Within, as well as serving as executive producer for Ghostwire Tokyo and Hi-Fi Rush. So a legend has made his exit. In that Xbox On interview, Phil actually sent a little salute to him and said that Mikami was pretty instrumental in learning more about what they need to do better in Japan to become more appealing. Now you see that Kojima partnership and you see this is a big loss, in my opinion. It doesn't seem like it was a bad one in the sense of like, oh, you fucked us over, Xbox. But this is a big loss, no doubt. You have a legendary Japanese game developer in your sole Japanese studio, like kind of the guy that a lot of Xbox fans, at least I was hanging on to. You know, this is a very valuable asset to have. In the day and age of survival horror, you've got the guy who brought you Resident Evil 4 right there, among many other fantastic games. Reality is, COG hasn't really directed a game in 10 years. He's been indicating for a while he's on his way out. He's trying to shepherd in that new era. We now see John Johannes drop Hi-Fi Rush, directed it himself. He also directed The Evil Within 2. So the torch is kind of being passed here, and he's shown that he's very capable. So what is your thoughts on Shinji Mikami leaving? Is there any concern for you? And what do you think's next for Tango?
Man, first we give the legend Mikami-san his flowers, man. What a career. This guy, man, I remember the first Resident Evil on PlayStation, and it changed my life. You know, survival horror, you know, graphical fidelity at the time, the pre-rendered kind of backgrounds. They were static, but like he knew how to invoke horror. And I remember the scene of the dogs busting through the windows. I was like, yo, what is this game? This game is crazy. So yeah, shout out to him, man. You know, and then obviously you had the formula. We get to, I shout out to Dino Crisis too, but we get to Resident Evil 4 where he kind of reinvents himself.
Yeah.
And makes this genre go into a whole nother direction and now changes it all over again. This guy is a legend. The Evil Within, we know about with horror and what that did. And look, this is a loss. Yes, there's no question. Like this is an icon in the industry. And the thing about it is now that I've looked at it and reflected a bit more about it, look, he has been in the game for 33 joints. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a long 33. That's a long time. And then, you know, we've heard rumblings in 2019 that he wanted to retire. You know, we've heard rumblings before. So, you know, there's a part of me that is not as surprised initially with the news, but there's a part of me also that part of the game is getting to the mountaintop, being able to cash out and walk away. That's part of the game. So maybe his mindset is, okay, I got there 2019. Okay, boom, here comes the ZeniMax acquisition. We're set. They meet with Phil. They talk, you know, he gives Phil the sage advice as Phil mentioned. And then the thing that I've learned internally and speaking to John and interviewing him and Tango and Bethesda is that Mikami's mindset has always been, this is a young man's game. So I want the young up-and-coming developers, the John Johannes's, the this one, the that one, right? And then I'm going to imbue my knowledge to them, right? The other thing that I like that he does is that he was very vehement in saying, we do not want to be known as just a horror studio.
Yeah.
We want to be something bigger, something greater. And that's where you see John able to pitch a Hi-Fi Rush to Mikami. Mikami said, okay, that sounds interesting. Okay. And gives him some points. But this is really John's vision. John said, like, hey, he was fighting with the developers for Devil May Cry. He was like, I don't know about this on the beat rhythm fighting thing. Like how? And he's like, no, it needs to be on the beat. And he stuck his ground and Mikami-san gave him, I like what you're doing. Go knock this out.
Yeah.
And look at what happens, right? So this is where you see the passing of the torch, you know, kind of thing. I'm curious to see if he completely cashes out or he spins off or he just, he rises off to the sunset. Does he stay a little bit on some advisory? Or, hey, maybe he's 33, it's time to walk away. I think, surprisingly, I'm going to say Tango's going to be okay because he set this up. He has, and then John has also worked on even within the DLC. I mean, the DLCs and all. Like he's been an integral part of this. I didn't even realize that with Mikami-san. So it's not like
Rush was a big lesson for all of us in that, I think.
Yes, it's not like the people that are in place, he didn't leave it in good hands. I think there's been an exit plan all this time. That's just my gut from what I see. So salute to the legend. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. This is a major loss, but I hope it is a kind of ride into the sunset moment. He's 57, worked 33 years. It's the perfect time to retire. Ideally, you retire as early as you can, but that's a great mindset to have, that it's the young guy's game, if you will, right? And I think we see a lot of older devs invoking their ideas and being very protective and not passing the torch. And I really love Mikami's mindset here. And we see the effects of it here with Hi-Fi Rush. We see it. Maybe we didn't see it so much so with The Evil Within 2, but you truly saw it with Hi-Fi Rush. Like, hey, we're going to break barriers. We're going to change what you know us for. And we're going to deliver one of the best damn games of the year at that. What a great moment to close out on. Granted, again, it was executive producer role, but that's what he's been doing for a while and has really had an impact on a younger generation. I think that's awesome because that's studio culture, man, because now you pass that knowledge down to the next one. And then hopefully John Johannes passes it down to the next one. And now you've got legacy, you've got consistency. It's something that I hope a lot of teams do. I talk about it a lot with Bethesda Game Studios, that one of my worries, for example, is when Todd Howard leaves, who has he been telling about all the things he does to help to envision a game in the way he does, right? You obviously can't be that person fully. You got to have your own creative spirit, but what can he pass on? And I worry about that with so many other teams that there's a reason why people are fans of all these various studios, and you want to keep that spirit alive while expressing some form of experimentation. So yeah, it's a sad exit for sure, but honestly, a complete champion. Really, no whack games. It's awesome to see.
Legend, man, absolute legend in the space. He will be missed, and he needs his flowers, man. He is very integral to the games industry, and a lot of the reason why I got into gaming. So salute to the legendary Mikami-san. Good stuff.
Absolutely. So with that, we move on to story number 2 here. We talk about IO Interactive, who has announced they are hiring for an online fantasy RPG codenamed Project Fantasy. They write on their website, "We are embarking on a new adventure, one that expands our creativity, our capabilities, and in some sense, our identity. We are building a new world, a new IP, a fantasy online RPG. A world and a game built from the core to entertain players and expand for many years to come. It feels familiar, yet has the same IOI. It is going on a..." I'm sorry, I misread that. "It feels familiar, yet at the same time," there we go, "IOI is going on a journey unlike any we have been on before." Now, Jez had reported on this game. The reason why it's in our major news cycle here is this is apparently what Project Dragon was supposed to be. This was in 2021, reported as a Xbox Game Studios title that was going to be published as an exclusive from IO Interactive. But now Jez, seeing this, has quoted a tweet saying it seems to have evolved from Project Dragon, looking at the description, which is now Project Fantasy. And Jez has speculated that no platforms mentioned makes me think it's not being published by Xbox anymore, and maybe multi-platform, and maybe that it was even only pitched at Xbox and not published fully. So it's good that we have that information there, and that Jez is being very forward and public about it, because this sounds like it could have been a major get for Xbox. We know IO Interactive is working on the likes of, we know about 007, Hitman. Now we got the online fantasy RPG, Project Fantasy. Cog, what do you make of this change in plans potentially? And let's also talk with Don Otaku a bit on what's going on with IO Interactive. He writes, "What up, Mercenary Matty and Conjurer Cog? IO Interactive has just announced that they are making an online fantasy RPG. It sounds like a lot such as Project Dragon, right? However, I'm kind of skeptical about Xbox's involvement, because if this was an Xbox Game Studios publishing deal, wouldn't have been announced as such. Do you guys still think the partnership is there? Have a somehow PlayStation outmaneuvered Xbox and got Project Dragon exclusively for 2 years kind of day? Cog, what's the feel here?
I don't know. I mean, it is interesting. We heard about, Project Dragon for some time, and it just seems like a shift from what they normally do. Like, we know them for that stealth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That Hitman. You know what I'm saying? And they're really good graphically, but I don't see any. What's the word? Like, I don't see anything that is alarming to me, because I feel like this kind of stuff happens behind the scenes more than you think, where things get pitched. It's either a go or it's not, right? And then you keep shopping around, right? You shop to other publishing places, houses, see what's going on, and who knows what happened. Maybe it was initially pitched, and now they had a change, or it wasn't as received as maybe they would have liked, and they went to other people, and that means now it's multi-platform. So who knows? The details will come out on that. I trust Jez's sourcing. I trust Jez's reporting. Yeah. So if this is the evolution of Project Dragon and now it becomes that, then it is that. So I'm not too surprised. I'm just, the thing for me is that not that I'm surprised, it's just that I did selfishly want another stealth game, but they do got the James Bond. They do. I got to let them cook. I got to let them spread their wings and do other genres and see what they come up with. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe the pitch was, not stealth, and if Xbox was involved, who knows if that was, the seller or not, but it looks like it potentially could be multi-plat now. But what do you think on this? I'm curious, because you're a big IO, you're a big Hitman.
Yeah, I mean, Hitman 3 was my game of the year when it came out. That game is amazing. So I was very excited at the premise of a collaboration between Xbox and IO Interactive, even if it was going to be an online focused game. Sounds a little live servicey here. They talk about expand on for many years to come. Again, we were just talking about, dipping into the live service bag. I'll lend my trust to IO Interactive, like I was saying with Rocksteady, because IO, the idea of a co-op Hitman style game where everyone plays kind of a role, maybe doing a fantasy type of heist, sounds very cool if it's like what I'm imagining in my head. But, it is a little disappointing to hear this one may have slipped through their fingers a little bit, but it also could be something they passed on because they thought, hey, this isn't really what we're looking for at this point in time. Obviously, we don't know enough right now to guess, but I'm excited by what IO is working on nonetheless, because they have a lot of interesting stuff in the can, right? We talked about James Bond, now this. So they have a pretty bright future. And I would at least say from the outside looking in, as a just fan of the games that they do, they're worth investing in. Xbox, I imagine, would know more than I. But it's very interesting to see that if this was an Xbox deal, would it have been announced as such? If you're trying to hire before a major reveal, so to say, in my eyes, like, no, you might just not want to specify any platform. Otherwise, you kind of give away an announcement before the announcement. So I could be entirely wrong here, but it's just my 2 cents on the matter. I feel like if anything, they would not want to give that away. But I don't believe, I'm checking right now, and it doesn't look like they have mentioned here any platforms at all, like Jez said. So that means it could be going really anywhere, whether it be exclusively or not. But I'm curious, Cog, if you think that eliminates any exclusivity for Xbox.
It could, or it could be. The other thing that we have to think about is that we may be looking at it through the wrong lens, in the sense of, I just think Xbox, again, they don't play that exclusive game per se all the time, and that it could have been, let's say it could have been multi-plat all along. There's a Game Pass situation going on here. That's what Microsoft seems more apt to do. You know what I mean? So that's another factor, and let's be honest, there's prices for complete ownership of something versus, okay, you keep it multi-platform. Let's be honest, it takes two to tango, right? So we talked about third parties and the appeal of Game Pass when we started to get into the cannibalizing of sales talk, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just say, they got something. Let's say something's cooking. Let's just say, hey, Microsoft, you're bad. Even though you may want this, we're looking at our projections if we put it more places. So maybe we take a Game Pass deal with you, or if y'all not willing to meet us at the price we think this is, Hey, it just goes multi-plat. But we wanted to let you hear first because, we heard y'all got that Game Pass bag.
Yeah.
Y'all throwing money around. So listen, I'm never going to claim to know all the innards of the pitching part, right? We do know that Microsoft's Game Pass deals are different in scope, scale, projections, and things. That part we know. But what we don't know is if you're a third party, IO's got cachet. They're not some, little rinky dink, we just starting out dudes.
Yeah.
This is Hitman. They got, so if they feel that this project, let's say Project Jack to them, we got one, right? Xbox, come check this out. Xbox said, okay, yeah. So what about this number? And they were like, nah, fam, we think we could get. And man, we talked about this is where the subscriber stuff happens. If you don't got the leverage right now, Xbox, to say, we at 30, 35. But let's say if Microsoft was at 50, 100, the conversation is different. You get 50, 100 automatically playing your new online fantasy. The conversations change. So I think there's two to tango. We have to respect IO also, as opposed to it always being Xbox's fault. Xbox. Some dudes may come in there and be like, fam, this ain't the number we was thinking for. You know what I'm saying? They blow, the expectation of what they want out the water. I mean, rightfully so. It's their project, and that could happen. It's negotiations. It's all negotiations, man.
Yeah. We'll see how it turns out. But if they're hiring now, then they're probably a ways away from whatever this ends up being. And we'll learn more then. So time will tell. But for now, that's the major beats of the news. And we move into our Game Pass pick of the week, sir.
So as you eloquently described, a game that you've been playing, as a recording, you can kind of say it, and obviously, expect some huge coverage from Iron Lords Podcast and Lords of Gaming.net on Wolong. Just giving y'all a heads up as of recording. Expect some big stuff. And look, this is the one. This is the one that COG is hoping for. And Matty, you described it well as far as the the co-op aspect. That's huge for me to be able to have a working function of that. But I got to be honest, this is the thing that's really exciting me about the game is that one, in speaking with the reviewer, and that the narrative. See, I'm also big on the narrative.
Okay.
Right. And I'm liking, some of the stuff that I'm hearing there.
Interesting.
That's the first.
That was an afterthought.
Yeah, I know. See, for me, that I need to know why I'm blood, sweat, and tears in this.
I just like the challenge. The interest. Yeah. Did he like the story?
Yes, and that is put my man out. Shout out to Lord Addict.
Yeah, he was grinding.
King of reviews for what I'm saying. ILP doing his thing, man. And he's like, no, COG, man, like this thing. I'm like, you sure you know how I am? And he's more fussy than me. So there's some stories that I really like. He'd be like, I don't like the way they did it. And the big thing about Addict is the ending. I'm like, do you feel, what I'm saying, it was justified? You know what I'm saying? Was the squeeze, was it justified? He said, oh no, God, this is it. And he started off initially like, I don't know about this game.
I do know that, yes. Yep.
He was I was like, oh no. The fodder on Pass Game Pass. No. Right?
Back to back.
No. Yeah, that my beloved will know. He like, COG, I don't know. And then it took him about 3 days. He said, no, COG, I was wrong. I didn't review the source material on how the game is supposed to be played and what they're trying to go for. Once he got it, it clicked. And he's like, oh no, this is, and this is the other thing. And this is where me and him differ. Addict plays Souls games. He's a dodger. He's a move arounder. Addict don't like to parry. Me and him have a big fundamental argument on parry in games. He's like, I hate when games try to do this, and I was like, okay, so what made you get over Hi-Fi Rush then? He was like, well, that was kind of done really cool when you get to the course of the battle. And I was like, oh, okay. So I said, so what clicked? And he's just like, there's a dance, there's a beauty to it. And for me, that's the rhythm of samurai and sword play. When I got into Ghost of Tsushima, and I catch that flash or whatever, and I parry it, like that I live for that. I know Matty killed my beloved Trek to Yomi, but when I get my parry, And it's the ultimate grace of ninja and samurai.
Okay.
I have disarmed you. And then now we talk the stamina system, and we talk the morale with the number system and stuff like that, breaking down the guards and all of that. And I like that, putting the flag down. So, okay, Cog won't lose. If I keep losing to this guy, it won't go underneath this because they beat you and then they take your job. So Wolong is doing things theoretically that Cog likes. And I like the aesthetic. And then the last thing is, I'm a huge fan of, Chinese and Japanese mythology, and they are touching my soul. Like, people don't understand, like, I came from, people don't realize Dynasty Warriors was originally a fighting game.
Was it really?
Bro, I was there from day one. It was a fighting game on PlayStation.
Wow.
And it had and it was a good fighting game in the veins of a little bit of a Tekken mixed with Soul Calibur with weapons. And bro, it was beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful. Wow. And once my man Addict said one magical name, who is a feared person in the original Dynasty Warriors.
Gee, I wonder.
And he said that name. Oh boy, I got excited because this is real energy. This is real mythology. This is real history. And I'm like, oh man, they got him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm interested. So I'm hoping this cracks the soul's code for me. And by every account, you know what I'm saying? It sounds like it does. Yeah, bro. Watch videos on the playthrough.
I am right now. I just can't believe it because all I know it as is the Muso style, beating up 1,000,001 enemies.
Million people.
Fighting
Dynasty Warriors. Wow. Was a fighting game at its core. So I'm happy they're going back. It's not a fighting game here, but they're going back to these little roots with some of the things that got me into gaming. And yeah, Wolong I'm hopeful for, so look out for coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Look out for, I got to plug the home team a little bit.
Please.
Shout out to Lords of Gaming. We kill it. We're going to have the best boss coverage y'all going to see. We're going to have guides for every boss. We're going to have it. Stay tuned. Stuff is coming as of this recording. But I'm excited for Wolong. And hey, if I get destroyed, I can add it. Come help.
Yeah. Yes, you can. Or call it a little AI buddy. Either or works.
Little AI buddy. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. So, and I love parries in games. Yeah. So hopefully
it's a very satisfying game in that regard. Like, just the deflecting does feel really good when you block that unbreakable and you kick them in the chest or whatever. Feels so good. No doubt about it. All right. We have to get into our final question of the show. This one comes from NeoJD, who writes, fellas, what's up with these games as of late running better on PS5? Hogleg, Wild Hearts, and Atomic Heart, something with all these hearts lately, are the latest in the bunch. Hogleg I get since it has a marketing deal with PlayStation, but how do games out day one on Game Pass not run the best on Xbox? Thanks, and have you can have anything you want as long as you let us buy ABK kind of day. We appreciate you, Neo, as always. Thank you for writing in. This is a great question because we've definitely seen that. I know the Series S version of Wild Hearts was particularly ugly, did not run well. Wild Hearts had technical issues in general. Atomic Heart definitely was one I didn't play on Xbox, so I can't comment on that as much. Hogleg I did notice, but that was across all versions, particularly in Hogwarts especially. That was pretty bad when you were running in the school, and you were going from room to room and you'd see the little loading wheel. That bothered the hell out of me. It was such a jarring moment of breaking my immersion. So it really frustrated me. But I think what happens, Neo, is it kind of starts at the top, right? Like, each of these games have core technical issues across all platforms, except I will say Atomic Heart on PC ran really well. And so I have very minimal complaints on its performance. It's optimized well. Like, I played it on my home PC, which isn't very powerful, and I played it with no problems at all. No frame drops, no issues, nada. Very good. So really, I'm going to hone in more on Hogleg and Wild Hearts because I know those are the two kind of compromised products, if you will. There's still issues technically with each of these games. Like, even if it runs better on PS5, so to say, Hogleg still has issues at its core that they're making compromises for, technically speaking. So I think what happens is, with Xbox having a less powerful SKU in the Series S, you'll see those issues be embellished a little bit more, would be the right word. It greatly, not exaggerated by the commentator or the people providing insight on them, but rather, it looks worse in comparison to the much more powerful technology. That said, though, I got to say, like, I've kind of fallen out of interest with the technical comparisons and the scaling because it was relevant at a certain point in time, and I'm not trying to blame or say anything negative about, say, Digital Foundry, but most of the human eye don't care, and can't see, and most don't care. If you were to tell me like, oh, I get like 2 more frames on Xbox than I do on PlayStation, but I wanted to play on PlayStation, that's it. Most people, just based off how today's imaging technology works, can't tell the difference when something's upscaled or native. I just think we're at that point now where we're just kind of talking about things. And don't get me wrong, like the answers you provide or the options provided here are problematic. Like Wild Hearts on Series S looks really bad, but I felt it was a good opportunity to bring up that I've cared less and less about this because I just feel like we're spinning our wheels at times for versions that are pretty similar. And when there is a major gap is when, like Wild Hearts on Series S, a good talking point. But like Hogleg on X versus PS5, I haven't seen, and I could be missing something, I haven't seen anything particularly super damning that makes me say, go buy this on PS5. Please stay way away from Xbox. It's usually minimal differences that aren't going to absolutely disrupt your experience. Even the case with Wolong, like I said, like Wolong had some hitches, had some frame dips, but I'm not going to tell Xbox fans, don't buy it. Don't buy it there. It's just, hey, be aware of this. And knowledge is power, but for me, I don't know why this is happening. I think it just all comes down to optimization. But Cog, do you think if you're getting the game day one on Game Pass, they should be running the best on Xbox?
It's a good question. This is an internal debate we just recently had on ILP. Me and King were kind of going at it. But look, this is my thing. I'm with you on the era of and I got good relationships with the guys, so I don't want to be disrespectful. With the era of the Digital Foundry, and let's be real, which is, we're going to break it down. We're going to break these frames. We're going to break this resolution. Who's dipping, who's not, who's frame pacing, who's VRR is popping. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And that was part of the excitement of the marketing of both of these consoles and the next generation jump. So, of course, we want to know which one runs better, just from a knowledge standpoint. But the thing that I'm noticing is that we got to be honest, right? I feel, I'm going to speak anecdotally, like I've seen a lot of Xbox versions running better than PlayStation versions. And then I've also seen a very recent string, a consistent string of PlayStation versions, third-party games running better than the Xbox version, whether it be by a few frames, whatever it is, it's running better. So my pushback, because look, I have both consoles, right? So my pushback is one console did market themselves as the most powerful.
It's a fair point.
Each monsters. So we got to be fair. I got to give the same energy. You know what I'm saying? If it was PlayStation that said that. Xbox is the one that came out and said this. So they're going to get more scrutiny. Now, there's 2 schools of thoughts here. One is that, okay, you go to the lead platform, you develop on the lead platform, you have a more familiarity with the lead platform because they have more consoles, and thus you are more in tune with the hardware. Then there's the second school of thought that Xbox, for all the buzzwords and the features, right? That I'm never going to use the word lazy, that developers are having a harder time getting to the metal to get these features that supposedly separate the Xbox from the PlayStation, right? The key to me is this. One, which one is easy to develop for? That the jury's still out. I'm on some cases. We need full transparency on that part. 2, is it a situation where it's like 360 PlayStation 3 energy, which is, remember, the PlayStation 3, supposedly the cell processor was way more powerful than the Xbox 360, allegedly, at the time. But if you remember, Matty, the Bethesda ports on 360 ran smooth. Yeah. It was night and day, right?
Sure was.
Bethesda was the place to go on Xbox because the ports risk. I remember some of them couldn't even come out or something. It was a lot of issues.
Yeah, Skyrim was broken on PS3. Right. It's funny, with all that's been said about Skyrim, a ton of people forget that was a busty game on PS3 for at least a month, I think.
Right. So here's the other thing. And in defense of the PS3, then we get games like Last of Us, right? And you see when it's solely made for the PS3, and you go, oh, that's different, right? So what I'm trying to say is maybe developers haven't been able to crack the tools, getting to the metal, all the buzzwords you hear. And maybe we see it in the first party games from Xbox. That's the hope, right? But I do feel it's on some pressure from the team or the hardware team at Xbox to figure whatever it is out, whether it be from a Series S standpoint or whatever, because you did market yourself as the dudes. So if you're going to be the dude that got your chest out, we got to see why you losing some matchups here and there.
No,
that's it. And I'm not trying to fanboy, because I'm with you, bro. I'm like, with the Digital Foundry stuff, it's so close that dudes is arguing over a frame here and there. I don't really, unless you tell me the game is fundamentally broken, or yo, that joint don't run at 60 over here, and run at 30 over here, and it run at, that's when I go,
when it's a significant drop, like when the Series S version of Cyberpunk was very bad compared to the Series X, like that's where the talks happen. But when we're talking minimal frames or whatever, minimal resolution dips or increases, I personally don't care. I don't want to speak for others. I'm not going to neglect coverage on it, but like, it's definitely a fair point that if Xbox is going to come out and say, let's, we're strong, we got the best console, that you probably want to back that up.
And last point, I got to defend Little Man a little bit. I know Little Man catching bullets and strays out here. The last thing I'll say is that, people are like, yo, it's hard. It's the lowest common denominator. It's an albatross or whatever. But the thing I will say, like you said with Cyberpunk, I remember seeing it on, what was that game? The zombie running game that you like too, Techland. What's our guy? Dying Light. I remember there's so many examples that when the Series S was first announced, version for it, 30 frames, low resolution, right? And then we do get the patch. They're like, oh, Little Man's at 60 now. This one's at 60. So to me, that shows that, again, there's still more challenge, more development time. It's just more time that is needed to get and understand it. And maybe developers still haven't figured out, but it's on Xbox to get these third parties up to snuff so that you have that parity. So if those games stayed at 30 and were never able to be, you see what I'm saying? Then I would be a little bit more concerned. But 9 times out of 10, we still see the love going to Series S so that it gets there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I guess, like I said, it's up to the hardware guys. Shout out to Jason Round and them team. It's up for them to figure that out and then let me know what's going on. And hopefully we'll have them.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes. But great write-in, Neo. Thank you, everyone else, for writing in. And that's episode 113 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. Somehow we managed to coast in at our usual show length. Like, as we were going along, I was thinking, like, oh, this is going to be long. We were getting into what we're playing at 2 hours. I was like, we have not had this since like a 4-hour episode. So we've somehow dodged that, kept it in our usual length. So I don't know, magic clearly, but Cog, it's time for our hashtag to cap off the show. I saw someone earlier use the hashtag overrated DD. Do you want to lean into the live show a little bit?
Okay, yeah, we can do overrated DD. Yes,
lean in the live show a little bit. Me and Spirit, you and Presence.
Yes.
All right.
Let's get the live show in there. Overrated DD.
Right.
I like that.
Excellent. So if you got this far and you want to use the hashtag overrated DD, go ahead and tag us on Twitter. I'm at G27status. That's at Lord Cognito. You'll find us there. You can let us know your thoughts on the episode again with the hashtag overrated DD. Otherwise, you can go into the comment section down below. You can fire away there if you don't want to hop on social media. We don't blame you. Again, hashtag overrated DD. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. Cog, any closing thoughts from you, sir?
Fantastic. We made it.
We did.
I thought we had a monster episode. There's like so much news for us. So we made it right in pocket.
Yes,
but no, it's good to catch up. It's good to see you again.
Yes.
Back fresh off the trip and all that good stuff. And I also want to give a big shout out. I never do this. We have a big shout out to the master column, Ben Smith. Fantastic brother. Everything behind the scenes, what you do. I want to thank you personally. The brother helped me. Saved my watch.
Oh.
Got my watch. Yeah. He said, bro, I left it in the hotel. Right? Oh. So not only is he the planner, this man, he is so essential to LSM. I want to thank him, for making us look right, to making us out there, giving you guys the best presentation, and the whole LSM fan, Colin, Chris, Micah, Dagan, you know what I'm saying? Dustin, everybody was awesome. It was good to come back together. And then hopefully one day with Matty, everything got to take care of his health as well.
Sure.
We get the band back together at some point, maybe next year for the next one or whatever it is. But I want to thank Ben and the team. This was a phenomenal event. It was really well done. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see it. I'm very excited for it. And I'm glad it was as amazing. And I know the effort Ben was putting in. He was definitely throwing the extra hours in, making a lot of phone calls. And while I wasn't there, Ben, we definitely appreciate you here.
Absolutely, brother. Salute.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for listening to episode 113 of Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. So until next week, hopefully we'll be sitting down to talk about that Starfield developer direct announcement. It's going to be a great time, I'm sure. We'll catch you next week in Defining Duke episode 114. Take care of yourselves and peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.